We've done exactly 2 weeks in the month of July. Good morning and welcome to the AM show here on the Joy News channel. Now, every morning when I'm coming to work, my energy is uplifted by the sheer willingness of people, getting out there to make ends meet. And my prayer is that the good Lord will bless every one of us to ensure that we're able to get ends meet. May God bless our hustle today. So welcome as we take all of us through this beautiful day of ours. And on this show today, as we do it, we start with AM News. After that, we bring you the AM Sports, and that is followed by the News Review. On that, we review what the papers will be reporting today. And of course, you expect to be seeing and hearing a lot more about what happened in Ablekuma North. To help us review that, we'll be joined by Victoria Bright. She is a lawyer and an entrepreneur. Also, James Kwabena Bonfe Jr., PhD, is CEO of Census and lecturer at UPSA. We also have Wanda Madilu. He is a member of the NDC's National Communications team. Then we jump into our big stories. And we'll be forced to protect ourselves if the security forces cannot protect us. Frustration and anger from the NPP following the violence in the Ablekuma North Rerun as some NPP executives became victims of violence that ensued in the elections. What does this portend for upcoming by-elections in Akwetia, and what are the lessons to be drawn? Also, redefining U.S. and African relations from aid to trade. U.S. President Donald Trump meets leaders from Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal with discussions focused on business opportunities, but also on the surprise of Donald Trump that the president of Liberia speaks good English. Well, we'll talk about this and what this new term means for African countries. Of course, your thoughts is very much welcomed on the show because this show is for you. So join us with your comment on phone and our social media handles, and we will deliver that to the rest of our viewers across the globe. The AM show is proudly sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at affordable cost, and also we bring you flexible payment options. So wherever you are, welcome to the AM show. Let's stay together and help build Mother Ghana. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Welcome to the show. Well, let's start the show with the AM News. And Emilia Boche searched endlessly for a single room close to where she works, hoping to find one that would take a year's rent upfront. But every landlord demanded 2 years in advance. With nowhere she could afford, she built a wooden kiosk just to have a roof over her head. In this episode of Habitat series, Joy News' Jacqueline and Suma Yeboah exposes the harsh reality trapping thousands in Ghana's broken rental system.
Increase the rent for no reason.
Emilia Boche has been searching for a single room for the past 3 months, but every time it ended the same way. Pay 2 years rent up front or keep searching. She earns just 700 Ghana cedis a month, money she used to make working as a supermarket attendant. At that rate, saving even 1 year's rent felt impossible.
From 1,000 to 1,005 was 1 year, and then
Emilia searched and pleaded with several landlords to accept just a 1 year advance. But even that wasn't enough. She was still priced out. She was hoping to get a modest space for 450 Ghana cedis a month. But landlords she contacted were asking for between 800 Ghana cedis and 1,000 Ghana cedis a month, and for 2 years upfront. It felt like finding a pin in a haystack.
almost 2 to 3 months because the rent was so high, and then most of the landlords were demanding for 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. But my job, I can't pay for 2 years. For 1 year, cry is something.
So she stopped searching and started building a kiosk from scratch on a land she rented because it was her only option.
I decided to do it on my own. So excluding the land is almost 7,000. So when you add the land to it, 8,000 and above.
Even now, she pays monthly just to stay on the land her kiosk sits on at Medina.
I decided to rent a kiosk. So excluding the land is almost 7,000. So when you add the land to it, 800 and above, 8,000 and above, sorry.
Oh, okay, trying to put the whole structure together.
Yes, 8,000 and above. Where I was staying in a kiosk like this one, but I was renting it.
Okay.
So I decided to look for a normal building to stay in, but I searched and searched and searched. I couldn't get. So that's why I made up my mind. I'll still use the kiosk.
So would you say that rent in Ghana is very expensive?
Very expensive, very, very expensive.
The rent law makes it illegal for landlords to demand more than 6 months' rent in advance. Landlords who do so can be fined up to 500 penalty units, jailed for up to 2 years, or both. Yet in practice, many tenants are asked for 2 years, some even more. The law exists, but for most people, its protection is only on paper. Emilia used to teach. She left her job because the cost of transport from her new place swallowed her pay. Now she's hoping to return to school, but for now, the kiosk is all she can afford.
And then I have plans, so I have to rent the kiosk, use the kiosk for now, and then after some times I'll try and then move in another place.
Every day, more Ghanaians are being priced out of a place to lay their heads, not because they do not work hard, but because landlords are breaking the law and getting away with it. Until the law is enforced and rent demands reflect real wages, decent shelter will remain out of reach for Emilia and for thousands like her. Jacqueline and Suma Yepwa for Joy News, Accra.
So to help us deal with this, join us at the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair happening in Tema at the EcoBank branch there. Let's talk about how you can become a homeowner and move away from this. But there's more to explore on this as well. From the residents living along the Pokwasinsawom Highway are protesting the bad nature of the stretch, asking for immediate government intervention to fix a major portion of the road. The road, which connects several communities and serves as a key route between Accra, Kumasi and the eastern region, has deteriorated significantly, disrupting daily activities and endangering lives. There is more in this report.
Clad in red and black and wielding placards with inscriptions like "Fix our road now, we deserve better," the demonstrators marched along the Pokwasinsawom Road, bringing traffic to a standstill on Saturday.
Today you are here to present a petition. I am happy to receive the petition on behalf of the road minister, who is my colleague in parliament, and on behalf of government. I'll make sure I deliver it to them as you have given to me, and convey all your messages you've given to me to give to them. But I can assure you that government is committed to get this road done in the quickest possible time. I live on this stretch as well. I suffer what you are suffering. I go through the difficulties you are going through, so I understand your frustration. We are going to make sure that the right thing is done.
The protesters accuse government of neglecting the road despite numerous promises to fix it. They say several complaints have gone unanswered.
Passenger phone ka say 20 Ghana no. It was say as a cow na for one payment for car cinema. Ubu spring 50 million one abeto. 20 Ghana there. It was say you pass. So me kwan we 20 Ghana ne biem.
The shocks ni springs there dey bia
say aya na you to cow na on to my.
Yeah, baby mra. Omoji 20 Ghana. Yes. From Kwanenye. Ensure to dey to me nante from Accra. Equal circle. E my fa window mu. Nti kwane de omo mehwe maye.
Yes. So omo ye construction na construction eja.
Construction ye hu obia wo kwan no so biom. Machine bie ni kwan no so biom.
The Pokwasi in Sewam stretch is a critical transit route for goods and passengers, linking Accra to key towns like Amasaman, Midye and Insewam. But deep potholes, eroded shoulders and poor drainage makes it a nightmare for commuters.
Well, away from that, religious leaders in Cape Coast are preaching the message of proper sanitation as they put in efforts to ensure the metropolis is one of the cleanest in the country. Speaking in an interview during a cleanup exercise in Cape Coast, the president of the Association of Concerned Cape Coast Citizens and Residents, Prophet Victor Kwao, urged unity, collaboration and support for the proper sanitation, advocacy and actions to build a stronger and more developed nation.
Remain underway to position Cape Coast as the cleanest city in Ghana. Religious leaders have joined the cause to ensure a successful vision. During one of the many cleanup exercises scheduled in the metropolis, the president of the Association of Concerned Cape Coast Citizens and Residents, Prophet Victor Kwao, called for support and sponsorship for the cause.
It's part of our core that we make sure Cape Coast become clean city. And not now. We started this issue about 5 years ago, and we are on date. Today you see us here, tomorrow you will see us different area. So we want to tell the whole Ghana, the whole Africa, the whole world, if you see us doing this and you have support, we need you to come and support the program that we are doing, because it's part of our core as a Ghanaians, as a citizens, and as a Christians and Muslims and other religions. So I think when we come together, we can build a nation.
The Metropolitan Chief Executive of Cape Coast, George Justice Arthur, expressed his elation at the participation of religious authorities in combating sanitation problems in Cape Coast.
It's my pleasure that they have been here focusing on that. So far so good. The priests are in support. They are giving us much support. And others too are supporting. The stakeholders and all others are supporting. Assembly came with a backhoe, and you can see the backhoe here. They came with other, vehicles and other machines. Urban Roads Engineer is supporting. Assembly Waste Management is also in support. So we are doing our bit, and we will make sure that consistently we embark on this cleanup exercise, the sanitation, in line with the policy of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
While highlighting some challenges, the Assemblyman for the Anachim Fahundi Electoral Area and Council Chair for Cape Coast Metro, Benjamin Agbenyeku, joined the appeal for sponsorships.
I'm pleading those outside the country and then all the institutions, big institutions around the country and then the Ghana, that we are bringing them letters in support of the cleanup exercise. Kindly help us so that we can get tools. We have the men, we have the women to do the work, but we are lacking of the tools. So that is our main challenge. Those who are ready to do the work, we don't have tools. I'm still pleading so that we can get tools.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Lesol in Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
Former Defense Minister Dr. Benjamin Kumbo has reiterated the commitment of the Mahama administration to expand the frontiers of the country's education, especially at the tertiary level. Dr. Kumbo, who also chairs the governing council of the Simon Diodon Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, says government will also enhance access to education, improve quality, and align tertiary education with national goals, particularly in science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Rafiq Salam has more from WA.
The WA campus of the University for Development Studies, UDS, since it gained autonomous status into a fully-fledged university in 2019 and renamed the Simon Diodon Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, SDDUBIT, has mounted several new courses. One of them was the opening of the School of Law for the attainment of Bachelor of Law degree. The graduation today, therefore, is the maiden edition, where 61 out of 64 students graduated at a special graduation ceremony. 55 of them were males and 6 females. The event also had 74 students comprising of 63 males and 11 females who graduated with various degrees, including PhD, MPhil, and MSc degree. Chairman of the Governing Council of the University, Dr. Benjamin Bewanyo Kombor Esquire, noted a significant contribution expected to be made by the graduates in strengthening governance, ensuring justice, shaping public policy, and solving the complex challenges of the time. Dr. Benjamin Kombor laid bare the commitment of the NDC Mahama administration in expanding the frontiers of tertiary education in the country.
Let me assure you that the NDC government is determined to expand access, improve quality, and align tertiary education and national goals, particularly in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Vice Chancellor of SDU BETS, Professor Emmanuel Deribile, then zeroed in on the major challenges of the university, which is infrastructure deficit, and plans to tackle them.
We are grateful to government for starting some GET fund projects for the university. 5 of these projects, including the library, 2 lecture halls and office complexes, an auditorium, and a hostel project remain uncompleted, more than 10 years since they were started. Hence, innovative ways to financing is inevitable if we are to complete these projects for use within the shortest possible time.
Our Sudan Minister, Lawyer Charles Wongo Pozung, in a speech read on his behalf by the Chief Director at the Upper Sudan Coordinating Council, Haji Pona Pati Sakakuri, spoke of the assurance of the Upper West RCC to help tackle the challenges of the university.
The School of Law and indeed SDDU BITS as a whole requires modern lecture halls, adequate accommodation, research support systems, and expanded professional training facilities. I assure you that the Regional Coordinating Council stands ready to collaborate with the university and advocate for the necessary support from central government and our development partners.
Minister for Education Haruna Idrisu was represented at the function by Professor Augustine Okulu.
There are a number of uncompleted structures dotted all over the country, including even the secondary schools. So we believe that the decision to uncap GET fund was in the right direction to get us the needed funding to be able to complete these uncompleted structures and also to start and complete new ones.
The valedictorian and best graduating student with first class honors went to Sherita Agnes Isakwachi. Reporting for the News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Vice Chancellor of the Whole Technical University, Professor Ben Kwashi Honyanuga, says the 24-hour economy policy risks failure if private sector participation isn't encouraged. He believes similar flagship policies stagnate at the planning stages due to the failure of the private sector to embrace and own the policies while adapting to the dynamics of the ever-evolving business community. Professor Honyanuga spoke at his inaugural lecture, which makes him the first full professor of the Whole Technical University. There's more in this report.
Professor Ben Honyanuga opened the lecture by sharing his early life experience after his father's demise and the hiccups he had to overcome to advance the academic ladder. Speaking on the theme, Navigating a Model of High-Performance Organizations in Ghana, Reflections on a Chameleon Business Environment, he underscored the volatile nature of Ghana's business environment. He asserted that this had affected the effective implementation of government policies and the attainment of economic growth objectives.
I heard the president saying that the private sector must stay commanding high in the 24-hour economy. MCE is not the one who will make the 24-hour economy work. The ambassador is not, it's the people. So the reason why Ghanaian organizations fail to become HPU are this. Cosmetic rebrands, misaligned culture and processes. Oh, Ghana Beyond Aid is nice, you put it forward. 24-hour economy is nice, you put it forward. When it comes to performance, zero. That is why we are challenging that. Let something work for Ghana, at least for once.
He therefore urged Ghanaian businesses to adopt his proposed chameleon-inspired framework.
I'm putting forward the model of HPOs and demonstrated clearly that when we combine knowledge management ideals and management innovation with continuous improvement and renewal, workforce quality and long-term orientation, we will generate. Synergy is very important. It just means that 1 + 1 is greater than 2. So 1 + 1 can even become 5. If we combine all of these things, we can enhance the capacity of Ghanaian organizations, whether public or private, to become high-performing entities that will serve as reference point to their peers and support sustainable economic development.
Professor Ben Honyenuga was vested as the first full professor of the whole technical university. He received congratulations and admirations from family, friends, among others, on achieving the milestone. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News. Ho.
Time now for us to bring you a business update on the AM News. And in business update, the IMF is strongly advocating for the government to reduce the current VAT rate on approximately 21% to improve tax compliance and boost revenue collection. This recommendation is outlined in the IMF staff report submitted to its board during the 4th program review. George Wiafe has more.
The IMF staff is also asking government to take a second look at the VAT exemptions granted to businesses, as well as strengthening administrative measures to aid compliance. The IMF is currently assisting the Ministry of Finance to roll out new set of VAT laws that will be implemented from September this year. The IMF staff report also shows that government is currently working to remove the controversial COVID-19 levy. However, government may now be looking at raising the VAT registration threshold for businesses in the country.
Well, Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senya East, Phyllis Nakoyo Okono, has expressed strong support for the Ghana Investment Promotion Centre's investment opportunity mapping project, calling it a timely initiative to boost local economic development. She made the remarks at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Lifestyle Hub Beachfront Resorts, a joint venture between Lifestyle Hub Group Nigeria and Targa Group Ghana, held in her constituency.
The GIPC-led initiative seeks to identify and document investment-worthy opportunities in all metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies across the country. By empowering local government with investment data, the project aims to decentralize economic growth and ensure that every region has the tools to attract investors. The Member of Parliament praised the Lifestyle Hub Beachfront Resort as a bold example of what public-private partnerships can achieve when development is localized and inclusive.
I know that government is bringing a lot of investors into Ghana. There is into the housing industry, there is into the hospital projects, they are into factories. I know of a couple of factories that are coming in here. But one thing that we should know that most of these factories that government is bringing here are going to be not solely foreign based, they are going to be local based, like what Dr. Sami Tuga has just done. So most of the workforce is going to be locally produced.
President and Chief Executive Officer of Tuga Group of Companies and Skybridge Group, Dr. Samuel Chumesi, describes such projects as key to transform Ghana's economy.
This Dampasi Kokrobite is one of the most beautiful scenery, anything coastal. We've been studying and doing our feasibility study for a long time, and from the data and the outcome, we realized that this place would be the best place for the structure. Hence, we decided to embark on this project.
Executives from Lifestyle Hub Group and Tuga Group also affirmed their commitment to long-term investment in Ghana's tourism and hospitality sectors.
And that's it for the business update, and that's it for the AM News as well. Up next is AM Sports. Do stay.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftawa Nabila Abdullah. Ghana's Black Queens have a destiny-defining day against Zambia later today in the ongoing African Women's Cup of Nations. The Black Queens lost their first group game and drew their second group game against Mali, which means that they've got just 1 point. And to stand a chance of qualifying to the quarter-final of the competition, they must win later tonight against Tanzania to stand a chance of making it to the quarterfinal. My colleague Lawrence Bedu is currently in Morocco and he observed the team's final training session and has details in this report.
The Black Queens are in search of a win that will propel them into the quarterfinals of the ongoing 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. 1 point from 2 games means Kim Last, Bjorke Grant's side, are on the verge of exit, but as they did in 2018, where they were knocked out in the group stage, the team is looking to avoid that same result. He has been speaking about courage and about the need for the team to take their chances at his press conference.
Yeah, I think we are in great position, to be honest. I think we only need to win 1 game to play in the quarterfinal. If we do that, we're going to be the second or the third in the group. We know that we have the potential to go all the way in this tournament, and I still believe in the players. I think we have played pretty well in both games so far, even if it's only 1 point. So I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. I'm sure that we're going to win that game and moving on from there. Yeah, I think it's a balance to be focused, of course, important, but also to feel a little bit relaxed. We know that we have the potential to beat Tanzania, even if we're talking about a good and hardworking team. We know that we can beat them, so they just need to be there themselves and do the job, and then I'm sure that we're gonna have a good chance to win the game. And like you said, in the end of a tournament, every game is like a final.
The Black Queens know that a win against Tanzania will be all that guarantees them into the knockout phases of the competition. The game takes place at the Bekan Stadium on Monday, 8 p.m. local time and 7 p.m. Ghana time. Lawrence Bedu for Joy Sports from Saidia.
The last time a Ghanaian team played at the Bekane Stadium, that game ended 1-1. That was Ghana versus Sudan during the qualifiers for the 2025 African Cup of Nations. And Ghana will be hoping to avoid that by securing a win later tonight to qualify to the quarterfinal of the competition. Tanzania drew 1-1 against South Africa, which has given Ghana a chance should they win later tonight. And Lawrence Bedu is in Morocco, courtesy of Adansi Travels. Now let's hear from Ghana's ambassador to Morocco, Charity Bodoa. She has revealed that the Black Queens have received all the allowances ahead of their final group game against Tanzania later tonight.
As ambassador of Ghana, I'm supposed to see to the welfare of Ghanaians on this soil. So the moment they arrived, we have been with them. The mission has been with them, encouraging them and all that. They started the match. They didn't actually start on a good note, but with the encouragement and everything, they drew with Mali on the 11th. And they have their final, they are meeting Tanzania tomorrow. But I must say they had a few challenges along the line. Their finances were delayed a little bit. I know that things are still taking shape back home, but fortunately, to the glory of God, the Minister for Sports facilitated the quick release of the money, and they have been sorted out. So their morale has gone up. So on those notes, I believe that tomorrow's match, they are going to make Ghana proud. Yes, the Black Queens are going to make Ghana proud, and I know they will score so that they move on to the next game. He told me that the beginning, South Africa was a tough one for them, you know, as a defending champion. It was a tough one for them, and they did well. It could have been worse, but they did their best. They did their best. But I know that for people who are watching from outside, they have their comments and things, but me being on the ground, I know what they did.
A gentle reminder that the AM show is sponsored by Whaley Properties, and if you are thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in, then Whaley Company Limited is your preferred choice for such investment. Whaley Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit in Accra. Invest in our new development, Willow Lane, here, where elegance will meet tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at affordable costs and also with flexible payment options. At Whaley Properties, we provide you 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. Give us a call now on 0240-111119 or 0504-499999. You can also visit us at whaley.org. Well, let's get into what the papers are reporting this morning. And to help us do this, we have Victoria Bright. She is a lawyer and an entrepreneur. Good morning to you, Vic.
Good morning.
I hope you're well.
How are you?
I'm
Very
well. Your weekend went well?
Thank you.
It went well, huh? Your weekend went well?
Yes, it did. It did.
Okay.
It did, yes.
All right. I mean, some weddings and naming ceremonies, I guess. Anyway. James Bonfe, Junior, PhD, CEO of Census and lecturer at UPSA. James, good morning.
Good morning.
All well?
Thank you.
Okay.
Good.
And Wanda Madilo is a member of the NDC's communications team. Wanda, good morning.
You won't say that I'm a development analyst.
Oh, you're a development analyst.
Of course.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, he is a development analyst. So today, he'll help us in analyzing our development challenges here. Anyway, let's start as we do always by giving you some 2 minutes to tell us what issues you want to clear before we go into the papers. Let me start with you, Lawyer Vic.
Yeah, I was reading that the CEO of Mobic Energy was urging the youth of Takwa to stop sports betting, gambling. I mean, this is something that's very dear to my heart because the youth are really the very essence of our country. They're the future of the nation. And so I'm particularly happy that people are now, influential people, are also adding to the various voices on this matter. People see it as harmless, but it's something that's creeping like a canker into our society. It's causing mental health and emotional issues for the youth, addiction, dependency, and there's a lot of depression, anxiety. People are using their school fees to do betting.
And other people's money.
And other people's money. Employees are stealing employers' money to do betting. So it's something that we really have to address. We have to tackle it and address it as a nation, because they often have these shops in the most deprived parts of the country, so they know what they're doing. And I think that we really ought to bring it to the fore of our discussions and do something about it before it's too late. And one thing I just want to urge the youth, please, stop it, because this is something, you'll wake up one day and you're 40 years old or 50 years old and you would have achieved nothing with your life. So think about that, because you can't, this is not what is going to make you wealthy or give you a future. So if you want a future, stay in school, study hard, work hard, and create a future for yourself and your would-be family.
And I guess the speaker, the CEO of Mobic, his life story can then be an example for the youth of Takwa.
Yes.
Because he came up from nothing to build the sort of business that he's built.
Yes, a very successful business.
Yes.
So yes, learn from the right people, not the wrong people.
James Bonfe, PhD.
Mine is to do with commitment to traffic regulation, especially in respect of persons with disability who signal and show that they want to cross. you look at the Disability Act, Act 715, it's clear on the use of the road by persons with disability that when a driver observes or sees a person with disability, and in this case, we will theorize older persons who have difficulty in walking as part of persons with disability. Once you see them signal that they want to cross the road, you have to stop for them. Over the weekend, I had the terrible experience of, virtually having to get down to stop somebody who was. I had stopped for an old woman to pass, not too far, towards the Dome railway lines. And this Sunday, this woman, I think she was going to church, and she was walking quite slow. This driver behind me was forcing to overtake me. As if I had no, I don't know. I didn't want to move, and I was just relaxing on the road. We should be careful. Another incident occurred at the University of Ghana the same day when I had stopped for the students to, cross. This car will not stop and was virtually coming to run into them. We have got to respect the rules on the road. And that is the only way we can keep a disciplined society. Laws are meant to be obeyed, not to be disregarded. And if we will come together and obey these basic rules, our society will function better.
Yeah. You remind me of an incident the other day on the Abri Road. There were two Benz cars, and they were, because it's a double lane, they were communicating with each other. And I was like,
what had rolled their glass down and
yes.
with each other.
So park
and talk.
When you're done, move. And when I tried to, say like, no, what you're doing
is wrong.
The guy I was like,
you flare up.
You are lucky I don't have a lot of time. I would have parked then.
And dealt with you.
Because really, two cars communicating with each other on the road, whilst a lot of us are cars. So really, the traffic laws and how people disobey them is something that we need to do something about.
I don't know where people are in a hurry to go to. I mean, take your time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might hurry somewhere you don't want to get to. So take your time.
And I think it's even divine that certain things happen to you
exactly
on the way.
So just cause you to pause.
Yeah. Because just seconds ahead, maybe something.
But just attendant to that is an article I read last week about how, the cost of transport, travel, by the fact of our poor and bad roads is costing us in terms of development. I traveled to Kintampo last Wednesday, and I left Accra at 2 p.m. I got to Kumasi at 8 p.m.
6 hours.
If somebody was traveling from Accra to London, the person would have.
Yes. Yeah.
What is the mileage? What is it? I mean, so it's so difficult to travel now. From Accra to Cape Coast is another nightmare. Why? And we're not concerned about these things. But others.
And it has a direct impact to development.
Of course.
Yes. And
transport.
Interesting. Wanda Madilo. Let me come to you. I don't know. Once you're a development analyst,
I'm
maybe
very particular about what's happening in Boku.
Okay.
The crisis, has gone beyond what anybody would have expected for a small country like Ghana to have this crisis for all these years. It's affecting school attendance. It's affecting service delivery like water, electricity. It's affecting the economic life of the people. And most especially, we're losing lives, And I think that is become, I don't know if it's become normal or it's become, because we hear of death in Boku now and it's as if,
everything is fine. Okay.
I think that's a worrying trend for all of us. What is it that is the issue? We know that there are boundary disputes. We know that there are chieftaincy disputes. We know that there is supremacy or whatever disputes and all that. Can we close this matter once and for all?
How do we do it?
So if you ask me, I can't sit because you have the likes of Asantehene as the one mediating. I can't sit on radio and say some things, but indeed there are several tried and tested ways of dealing with such conflicts when it has to do with chieftaincy, dispute over boundaries and all that. I have always stated that government must show a lot of force in some of these things. When I say force, not being violent, but show that you own the lands and you are the one who has the vested interest in all these lands. I mean, relocation is one of the possible ways. You like it, you don't like it, this is where we're taking you to, and you have to go by it. That's one. Number two, the economic challenges that they have over there, how do we solve it? Is it the case that there are no businesses, no opportunities, employment opportunities, for which reason many people are unemployed, and so these have become their way of exploiting the system to make ends meet? How do we do that? Is it about chieftaincy? What is the history saying? If it's about chieftaincy, what is the way forward? I think that it will help the country, Boku, where it is strategically as a farming environment, where we can actually use as a food basket for the entire country and even to export to nearby countries like Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina and Togo. I think that we should be able to resolve these issues going forward. Because they have a lot of eminent chiefs on this, project of unifying or sanitizing the environment, I will expect government to do something as quickly as possible. It has become one too many. Every now and then you hear of escalations of violence, and one group is attacking the other, and all that. I think it's worrying, and we can, as a country, put this to rest once and for all. Okay. It's been many years, over 20, something 30 years running, and you hear these pockets of things. It goes down, then it comes back later and all that. Preemptive, security would help some of these issues. Some people have to be picked out of the area, banned from entering the area for life. And these are the measures that has to be taken in the interest and peace of this place. Because now they have an MP who is not even able to go there because of the risk. He has to go there protected without. Imagine the volumes of security, expenditure in that area, keeping the military on the ground daily, police daily, and all the other relief items that go there and all that. So, and then also, economic activities grind to a halt because you can only wake up in the morning, 6 o'clock, by 4 p.m. you have to be home, and the whole night nothing is happening until the following day. So these are worrying trends. And now if cars have to go through by 6 o'clock, cars will have to park, wait until morning, and then you have to go with a police escort or military escort to go through the town and all that. I think that this is something that we need to pay attention to.
Okay, all right. That's from Wanda Madilo there. Let's get into the papers. I have the Daily Graphic and the Today newspaper. Vicky, I don't know which papers you have.
I have the Ghanaian Publisher and the Ghanaian Times.
Okay. Dr. Bonfe, which paper do you have?
The Economy Times.
Okay. Wanda.
Economy Times.
Okay.
I have BNFT, Business and Financial Times, and then the Custodian.
Okay. All right. Let me start with the Daily Graphic. And on the front page, it says, presidential jet grounded, air travel worthiness uncertain. Ablekuma North violence, tame electoral vigilantism, experts advocate. Affordability barrier to chronic disease treatment, NHIA study. New visa policy not about length of stay, U.S. Embassy. Let me start with the Ablekuma North violence. That story is written by Albert K. Salia and Samuel Dodu. Now, 4 professionals with expertise in security, governance and peace building have said that the pocket of violent incident that marred the limited rerun of the Ablekuma North parliamentary election exposed the deep fractures in Ghana's democratic fabric. They have consequently called for urgent reforms to prevent the resurgence of vigilantism in the country's political fabric. Quote, the lesson is unmistakable. Democracy must be defended not merely through voting, but through the integrity of institutions and processes that uphold it. Ahead of the upcoming by-election in Akwatia constituency, likely to become a litmus test of Ghana's resolve, concrete steps must be taken to restore public confidence and protect the sanctity of the vote, as security expert Colonel Festus Abwaje, retired, stated. Vicky, let me start with you. I'm sure you followed what was the happenings on Friday. What did you make of those happenings when you were watching?
I was shocked, actually. You know, this is Ghana. We don't like this kind of behavior here. We're a democracy, and we are one of the most established democracies on the continent. And it's a badge we wear with national pride. And it's a badge which we should not do anything to dirty, to make dirty, to mar in any way. I just could not believe what I was seeing. People on the ground being kicked, slapping women. One of your journalists, Sally, she was assaulted. I mean, that's a threat to press freedom and democracy. How does a man slap a woman like that? A young lady, what was she doing? She was just trying to do her job. Are you trying to intimidate journalists now? So we need to be careful. We need to be very careful because we've worked hard to get to where we are now. That said, this is not the first time we've had this in the country. And, we kind of talk about it for a bit and then we don't do anything about it. Of course, we had the Vigilantes and Related Offences Act in 2019. And I think various civil society groups have called for an ally to strengthen its implementation. That has not been done yet. But this is an act that we must enforce. I mean, some of these people, in fact, we can see them. The cameramen picked, we can see who they are. So I believe that this kind of violence cannot be tolerated in our society because it just escalates, doesn't it? If we don't stop it now, what will happen in Akwatia when we get there? This was only 19 polling stations. Only 19.
And Akwatia, we've had one before.
And we've had one before in Akwatia. So we need to really do some self-introspection as a people. At the end of the day, we're all Ghanaians. Whether you're MPP, PPP, NDC, whatever, the most important thing is that we are Ghanaians. What if someone had died? It would have been tragic and needless, like we had those eight people dying, in one election. So let's value ourselves, our lives a lot more, and let's do the right thing. And it has to be said that this is just a minority of people who are doing these things. I think it's wrong to say it's NDC doing it or somebody else doing it or whatever. It's a handful of people who are doing these things, because look at the number of supporters that MPP has as a party. Look at the number of supporters that NDC has as a party. So if it was, if the majority of the party's supporters decided to do this thing, I mean, the whole country would descend into chaos. So I think it's a handful of people who are seriously misbehaving, and they use these by-elections as an excuse to just vent and, perpetrate acts of violence. So we cannot. It's just a trend which has to be stopped because people have died as a result of this, and we can no longer sit back and just do the normal reportage and say, ow, ow, and then carry on until the next by-election. I'm shocked. I was shocked at what I saw. There's no place for violence like this. It's an election. I mean, may the best person win. That's all. It's an election. Let's go there, let's cast our votes, and that's it. I mean, look at the images on the screen now. People being kicked on the ground and pulled down, kicked. I mean, it's just not necessary. What is this going to achieve? Is it going to change the results in any way? I mean, we are now talking about the violence instead of congratulating the young lady who won. And I'm always very excited when I see women in politics, you know, in parliament, you know. So let us stop this. It's not helping us in any way. And in Ghana, you know, we all know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So the fact that you belong to one political party doesn't mean that, you know, the person is your enemy, the other person is your enemy. We all have relatives in all the political parties. You know, we have friends in all the political parties. We are one people, one nation. So let us stop this. Please, let's just stop this. And let not people be scared to even come to the polls, because it will get to a point where there will be hardly anyone voting if we don't curb this, because they'll be scared to just even turn up just to cast their vote. I mean, you know, even in general elections, people, you know, there are policies, people just go, mostly we have sane and violent-free elections, mostly on the large part, when you especially compare it with other African states. And let's continue to wear that badge with honor, and let's stop this.
Dr. Bonfe, now if you just gone by in one of the visuals, you see the police officers just walking away and paving way for the guys to enter the area. I mean, what happened on Friday say about our security at these polling stations and during elections, really?
You see, I want to preface whatever I say with a comment that we live in a country where many of us, you know, don't mean what we say. Much of us say what we don't intend or mean at all. And a few of us, very few of us, don't do as we say. So you have deception in the first instance and hypocrisy in the second. And that has engulfed our national life. Kojo, what were we doing there in the first place? There was no need. What happened in Ablekuma North had no foundation in the laws of our country, whether the 1992 Constitution or this CI. It was unwarranted, that election, so-called rerun. Elections are a creature of law. What law mandated the EC to do what they did? I have tried to comb through the national constitution and our electoral laws. At best, when elections are taking place, and this is a CI on elections, and there's a problem during the poll, interruption or obstruction of poll, and you are not able to complete, that is when you can have a rerun.
And they said that's what happened.
That's not what happened.
There was interruption. They couldn't complete.
No. I'm talking about when a poll is being conducted.
Oh, okay.
A poll,
not
when we are
collation.
going to cast our vote. In this instance, votes were cast, ballot papers were collated, counted, results declared at every polling center, in 281 of them. They were to go to a constituency collation center to collate all the 281 and declare. They were known. The results of the polls that were taken on December 7 at each of those 281 polling centers were known, were declared. Some way, somehow, some people say they don't have a full complement of their results. People, as Vicky was saying, people were seen disrupting the collation process at the polling center, picking pink sheets, destroying them. Above all, ballot boxes containing ballots at Ablekuma, some center there, were burnt, and we have people on video claiming that they did that. Not a single person has been arrested in relation to any of these. And the Electoral Commission, after about a series of 5 press conferences and press statements put together from December 9, when they told us that they were sure that the results in Ablekuma, they were going to be able to declare. Yeah. To the latest one being, I think, around June, saying that they were left with three polling centers to be collected, not rerun. And you capitulate. July 7, that you are going to have a rerun. And I'm asking the Electoral Commission and all those who participated that on what basis did they go for the so-called rerun? So what happened there was an illegality to start with. Now, moving further to the arguments that my sister Vicky advanced. What is this? What is this? Ghana? That an election to elect a member of parliament, I don't want to talk about past incidents. We like doing that. And then we lose sight of the issues at hand. What was the business of anybody to go attacking anybody? The way we have seen them. And as we speak now, I don't know if your media house has picked a signal that a single person has been arrested. We tend to allow or entertain criminality by endorsing them with such flowery discussions. And at the end of the day, it becomes business as usual.
Oh, look at the lady.
These are faces, people on screen. And you are telling me that our national security system cannot pick one person. The worst part, and I'm sorry, my good friends, Dr. Mani Boama and Muntaka, they were there. Proud that they were there to secure. And all this happened. What are we doing to ourselves? And it brings the question. Is politics and putting oneself up for elections really about service to the people? Is this to secure the mandate of the people to come and serve them? Is that what we see? The attitude with which we show or with which we run these things? We are not committed to our democracy. That's all I will say. And so long as we are infidels to our constitution and we are not committed, there's no way we can win anything. The man who in 1992, who first went around the world, around the waters, William or Bill Pinckney, in 1992, he said something that what we need is commitment. And he did it to demonstrate that if we are committed, amplifying the principles of control, self-control, restraint, which was echoed in 1953 when the motion of destiny was first moved in Ghana's Legislative Assembly on July 10 by Kabachewura J. Brahma, who later on became Yagbonura Timu II. That it will take self-restraint if we want to be independent people to govern ourselves towards our aspirations and our goals. This, I'm sorry, it is not of the Ghana we should have. It is not of the Ghana our forebears dreamt. It is not of a Ghana I desire. And not long ago, we celebrated our Republican status. Problematic as it was, turned into a day of prayer and thanksgiving, incongruently. What were the things that we said? And what are the things that are manifesting? We can't live a duplicitous life and expect that we will leave legacies for those who will come after us to learn of us. The examples we are leading today, Kojo, I'm sorry to say, we are not worthy of those who laid the path before us. We can do better than this.
I wanted you are an executive person, but having been in this political terrain for quite a long time, I mean, the video where the police were just pushing aside to allow the guys to pass through, I don't know, I mean, if that should have been the case. I mean, they should have prevented them from entering, not so.
Very well so. I agree with you. But the question is that, who were these guys in the first place? Who are they? What business did they have there? And what control, what command did we give to our police? Our police, they stood there helpless. Some of them were even running. You see, so it's a whole discussion. We've had this before. A whole commission was set up, the Justice Emil Short Commission.
Yeah.
And their report is there. The white paper on that report is there. Do we learn as a people? And I'm asking, Kojo, after the incident, if indeed we are dissatisfied with this, wonder, my question is that, has a single person been invited by the police or arrested? As I sit here, the answer is no, zero. Okay. Unless your media house can tell us that today, as we speak, someone has been invited or arrested. And yet we have people on video. Shameful.
Wonder, I mean, you're also a player in this whole political circles. Doesn't what happened make you scared about our future?
Why the future and not now? I mean, it's happening now.
Yeah.
If we put in systems that will forestall some of this, violence, I don't think we should even be here in the first place. You remember in '92 when we have some minor clashes, disagreement among the political parties and all that, and the opacity of the problem of the ballot boxes and all that. The result of that, at least, government was proactive. We had the IPAC, coming on board, which provided a platform for political parties to engage and discuss and all that. I think that one of the things also we need to do is, and that's away from the discussion, is to make IPAC a body that has some, legal backing, other than just an advisory or consultative body with no such powers of compelling the EC to do some things with respect to elections. Then in '96 we had small minor clashes because we had resolved the differences between the political parties and all that. And then by 2000 we introduced the transparent ballot boxes again to resolve the issues. In that 2000 elections, there were skirmishes in places like Boku, Tamale, and parts of the Volta region. Then we were making some progress. However, the violence was getting a bit more, intense. By 2004, give or take, it was manageable because Peace Council came on board, National Commission for Civic Education. We had other, bodies from the US across the world that were interested in what we were doing at the time. In 2008, you had clashes in Tamale, in Equatia, in Techiman South, and all that. Then, if you remember, this whole discussion about election task force, this whole discussion about putting together a joint team with police and military to combat some of these, excesses. By 2012, we were on the brinks. And I have always stated that part of the reason we have challenges in our elections is that when flashpoints are produced or listed in any elections, the police do very little to ensure that some of those flashpoints are taken care of ahead of time. What you call preventive, policing or chaos or whatever of the sort, or security or whatever of the sort. And I think that's where our challenge began from. From 2012, it looks as though things were a bit rough. And if you remember, after 2012 elections, we had the MPP challenging the results, of the elections. And on and on and on. It took us 8 months There were reported acts of violence and all that. Then we went to 2016. You know, again, we had issues. 2020 elections also had issues. And there was a change of power. A new government was in place. I mean, by 2016, a new government in place. And then we had this almighty, very, you know, we used to hear of violence, but when we saw the Ayawaso spectacle, then we saw that, or we realized as a country that, look, this is getting beyond just the issue of disagreement. And now people are becoming violent. People wielding guns, people slapping people and, you know. And I think, if you ask me, and this is not to refer to the past, our conduct from Ayawaso has, in one way or the other, empowered the violent ones to become more violent.
But wasn't after that the Vigilantism and Other Offences Act came into being?
That's true. But to what extent has that act succeeded? One. To what extent has the Milshot report been implemented after the white paper was issued? I think that we didn't see proper punishment for people who have been engaged in that whole spectacle to serve as deterrent to others. You know, we all agree that the political parties agreed that they were disbanding their, you know, militia and all that sort. But we also agree that it is not the name we call it. It is the violence in the people who run the elections, or the attitude to revenge, attitude to payback. That's what caused some of these things. And I think that the political parties themselves should also be doing some introspection. I didn't think that for an election like that, people like, and I don't want to mention names, some of the people that were actually, you know, hurt and you will see that the people who talk to those issues make references to their past. I didn't think that you had any business going there. I mean, what's the business of you coming from maybe a constituency like Tamale to Ablekuma to do what?
To support the candidate. Why? Nobody bars anybody from going anywhere.
If we were having a main election, would you have been there?
We are not, but this is not main election.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that. So the police needed to prevent some of those people from entering the place. 19 polling stations. What impact can you make? You couldn't win your own seats.
Yes.
What impact are you making in that place? And I'm saying that some of them were actually a mark of retaliation. Nothing, you know, nothing beyond what it is.
I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not sure.
No.
Any retaliation, whatever, you know, was, you know, needed or can be justified to say you were retaliating and that's why you went to do.
It doesn't lie in both of us. Arguments.
I understand.
For people who have taken a decision in their mind to do what they are doing.
But what we say today,
do you realize
what we say today could embolden some other people's action tomorrow.
That is why I'm saying that we have a responsibility ourselves as political parties to determine who is going there, who is not going. Because there are people who are violence prone. I mean, you just mention a name and they will say, okay, we'll show her. Or you mention a name, we'll show him. Let him show up there and we'll see what will happen.
You want to say
and I think that I haven't mentioned names. And I'm trying hard not to mention names. Even on the NDC side, there are people who also were there that supposedly maybe shouldn't be there. That's the truth. I mean, what's the business? 19 police stations. And you have the whole country going there. So the police were overwhelmed. They didn't even think that those numbers would be in the constituency for such elections. The Methodist polling station already, before that, was already flagged as a flashpoint.
Yeah.
In several elections, we have had some chaos in that place. What did the police do in that regard? What did we do to prevent some of those things? Why didn't we take that election into an environment where it's secured? You can't enter unless you are, a voter to enter the periphery. So those were the lapses. There were security lapses, we agree. There were people who shouldn't be there in the first place. There were people who also were prepared for violence. We had people who had a pepper spray in their pockets and all that, and were spraying pepper spray on others. What do you expect? Watch the videos very well. In the heat of the issues or whatever, you spray pepper in somebody's face. You think I'm going to allow you to do that and get away with it? I'll certainly react.
Did the person just get up to spray, or she felt
whatever it is pepper spray used for election day voting. What is the issue? Under what attack? When you do that, it will get out of hand. And I think that's why I'm saying that the individuals who even went there, some of them owe it a responsibility on themselves to be responsible. The political parties owe it on themselves to be responsible. The police have to be responsible. And if we do all this together, the culmination of it is that we can have a very free and fair elections. I can tell you that there are some people who would have wished to vote in that election, but by seeing that violence on TV, wouldn't even show up. So even voter turnout is largely affected by the peaceful manner in which the elections are being held. So we have a problem, we have a challenge, and all the political parties, including the police, Ghana Police Service, and the Interior Ministry, the Defense Ministry, and all allied agencies that regulate our elections or ensure election day operations, should come together and let's do something better. It should not be whose ox is God. If it has to be that way, then we're showing some favoritism and people begin to do these things over and over and over, and they get away with it. I think that we should put some sanity on some of these issues going forward.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So, but Vicky, let me come to you. Some people have said that we need to take concrete steps to restore public confidence and protect the sanctity of the vote. How can we do that? What must we do to ensure that people will have the confidence to say, yeah, we can trust in this process?
I think we need to give effect to the Vigilante and Other Offences Act. And also I think that it's important in terms of the day, election day itself. It's important that I agree with Wanda in the sense that those who don't have any business being there should not be there. Ordinarily, that should not be the case because we are all free citizens and we can go and come as we please. But it's, having seen what we have seen and knowing the possibilities out there for things to deteriorate very rapidly and descend into violence, the police should make sure that those who actually enter the arena are those who have business being there. Because if you limit the numbers, it's much easier to manage from a security viewpoint. So I think just basic steps like that. Keep people away, vet everyone, check people's IDs, make sure they have some business being there. And then also, if people perpetrate these kinds of acts, make an example of them. Let Ghanaians understand that if they get attacked, the attackers will not get away with it. The perpetrators of these heinous crimes will not get away with it. You can't justify it by saying that, oh, someone did something and someone did something. What they did was wrong. Clearly, it was wrong. But is this the response? Is this the right response to that wrong act? We need to check ourselves. It can deteriorate. All these riots and things, I was reading about a 12-year-old Kenyan kid who was sitting in her house watching TV, and a stray bullet, just came and killed her. What was she doing? She was just sitting at home watching TV as a 12-year-old child. She was where she was supposed to be. And where did the stray bullet come from? Between rioting between police and people over some government issues. But these things have a way of deteriorating into something else. So let's just not go there. Let's not justify it in any way, because two wrongs don't make a right. Let's not justify it in any way. Okay. I mean, all these things have happened. Things happened in previous elections under different administrations. Et cetera, but it does not justify what I mean, the journalist, what has she done to anyone?
Just reporting.
She's just reporting. She's not a member. And this is what I'm talking about, these undesired effects and consequences. So let's be cautious. And I think, we need to have a situation where the place is, is sanitized a bit. If you don't have any business being there, then the police should just do a cordon and make sure that only those with any business go there to vote. It's a shame because one should be free to move in and out. But if this is the consequence, then it's a small price for people to pay, honestly.
All right.
If members of a political party or friends of someone who went against the decision of his party not to participate, in my view, in an unruly or unlawful conduct of the EC by so-called rerun, goes to support that friend, has no business being there, what business has any hoodlum or tag that goes to attack that person? You see, we need to be very careful. I have in my hands here the white paper on the West Wagon Election Violence Committee report. This is the white paper, and this is the committee's work. Even before the recommendations came, the Vigilante and Election Violence and Related Offences Act was in the process. So it outlived, in fact, it actually preempted one of the recommendations from the Emil Short Commission. And quite a number of the recommendations that were made were rejected because they were already existent. For example, the structure or the chain of command within the national security setup, which was recommended. So if anybody is asking about the implementation of the Emil Short Commission report, it is either because you haven't read the commission report or the white paper or you haven't followed. They've been implemented. And in terms of compensation and prosecution, the white paper rejected some of the suggestions to prosecute some of the people. And this is where it is instructive. You remember Sam George? Mm-hmm. He was an MP for Ningo Pram Pram. He was there. The white paper and the commission report established that the press conference that was held by Mr. Ofusu Ampofo, then as chairman of the NDC, and the wild allegations that were made by Mr. Sam George before, turned out to be false. Turned out to be false.
You mean he was not attacked?
No, it's not about the attack. The allegations that they made. No, I wasn't talking. I'm not talking about his attack. Okay. I said the allegations that they made ahead of the commission setting. It's here in the commission's report and in the white paper. Okay, but the point I'm making is this: one, the Ablekuma incident was needless and avoidable. I am yet to get from the Electoral Commission or anybody in Ghana the basis for the so-called rerun. The elections
that's the body mandated to.
Yes, the body mandated by the Constitution. Yes. And they are supposed to go by regulations.
Yes, and when they get to a point where they say, we cannot complete coalition, what option do they have?
And I'm saying that they have told us, this is their own press statement, that they were left with 3
we all
polling stations to collate, not to rerun.
Yes.
How did it, catapult to 19?
They were not.
That they were going to rerun. Now it has changed from coalition to rerun. I'm saying that they had no business going there in the first place, unless somebody is to prove to me. And by that, I'm saying that there was an elected member of parliament before the so-called rerun on July 11th. I'm not too sure what the court will say. But in my view, what happened was unconstitutional, and any outcome of it a nullity and void. But I don't know how the country will endorse and acquiesce to that illegality that has been visited on us. That said, I want to insist, we have video footage of persons who went there to disrupt, assault, and abuse. I will not invite President Mahama into this. I will not even invite the Minister for Defense and Ministers of Interior who were there. I will invite them into this. The police.
Okay.
My good friend Christian Yonu, you were there. Your intelligence team, I'm sure you've watched these videos. You have the names and identities of the persons who perpetrated these acts. Take action. Take action. Do something. Rely on your authority as the head of the Ghana Police Service, and let us see the law work. And see how many people can be stronger than the Constitution and the laws of our country.
Okay.
So,
Wanda.
So I hear commentaries like, if you say that the white paper was not implemented, and means you didn't read the report. I read from paragraph 6.3 A. Just one of the many recommendations that the government itself accepted. And tell me if this has been implemented. The government takes note of the Commission's recommendation that Mr. Ernest Akumia, alias Dobu, must be prosecuted for the unauthorized possession of firearms under Section 192 of the Criminal Offences Act, of course, which act is now, and refers the recommendation to the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service for further investigations. So maybe that was done.
It just refers to the CID for further investigation. We need to ask the CID.
Ask him to read the comment that the owner of the paper you are holding has written there.
I'm not interested in your comment. This is what the white paper says. What does your comment go to do?
We need to find
So what has it got to do?
The issue is simple. You said that if you say that the commission's report was not implemented, it means you didn't read. And I have read from the document of a recommendation that was made by the white paper.
I'm grateful.
Tell me if this recommendation was implemented.
Okay.
And you say I should read your comment.
Okay, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Let's do other issues.
Let me address him.
We all know.
Let me address
after
him.
the white paper was issued, some of which things they have rejected. For instance, in that report, they claim that the events leading to some judges' attack were not true. What about the attack?
Okay, all right, that's
that
fine.
was the point I was.
Yes, what about the attack itself?
That's fine.
The attack is.
That's fine. I'm going to gentlemen and ladies. Let's move on and do other stories because we'll come back to.
And just to wrap up this, I think the question really is about the implementation of the act.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
That is what it should just be implemented.
Look,
I mean, the enforcement. That's the word I was looking
all
for.
right.
Kojo, let me make this point.
I hear.
When one group disbanded their so-called vigilante groups, one did not. And it was evidence. It was evidence.
Put names to it.
Which group were on the rampage and the attack? It was the NDC group.
Please.
We read on Facebook.
It was the NDC group.
Honest.
It was the NDC group.
We wouldn't be
here. It was the NDC group that
if we were dishonest, when it happened a year or so ago, we wouldn't be saying this today.
One group, where were you when I also occurred?
Thank you. I'm grateful, gentlemen. I'm grateful to you.
You tell me.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
I was honest.
Gentlemen, let's move on.
You don't come to this show and tell us that it is the NDC group that is in this
but no.
When did this not be reported about the formation of these bandit groups?
Am I wrong?
Is it
obvious?
Yeah, it's very wrong.
Isn't it obvious?
Let's move on.
Was there an
It's very wrong.
Let's move on.
There is no violence.
Let's make
Was
progress.
there an NPP group?
Oh, please.
Let's make progress.
When How Akumsum was spraying,
Let's make progress. Gentlemen.
Sorry, How Akumsum was spraying. You didn't see that. This style of trying to be selective.
Wonder is okay.
How Akumsum is vigilante.
Thank you. I'm grateful to you, gentlemen.
How Akumsum is vigilante.
Lawyer Vicky, let's go into your paper and see which issue you want us to discuss from it.
Yes.
I think there was an issue you wanted us to discuss from the paper.
You had
one on IMF that you were so keen on.
Oh, yes, it was a conversation, but I'll go over the headlines.
Okay.
So I have the Ghanaian publisher in the Ghanaian Times. The headlines for the Ghanaian publisher: Yame Nabanga behind illegal task force, minus. However, the two reject allegations. And then Baba Sam to High Court, nullified Nana Njo's illegally obtained court order. Minority to Mahama, we've just been talking about that. Act now or bear Ablekuma blood. And then for the Ghanaian Times, it talks about government accountability. And our lady, the lady securing victory.
Rabna Obing.
Yes, Obing, yes, Rabna Obing. And then unapproved, the president directing 2 ministers to address unapproved court charges. Yes. So I think the one that I was actually talking about was a story in the IMF, which I'm not sure. I think it may actually be in Wonder's paper.
Or can we check the Economic Times?
I think it was in the Economic
Times. Maybe we can check. The Economic Times is there. The Economic Times is just there.
The one.
Oh, I see. I think Babino rather has it.
Okay. Then let's take it because that's the issue you want us to go into.
It's something that I don't want to steal your.
Anyway,
Anyway, yes. So that story really was to do with. I haven't read it in detail, but we've been hearing some reportage on that about the IMF requiring us to effectively weaken our currency, because of various reasons. Well, obviously, we need to be careful because when our currencies get weakened to a point which becomes unsustainable, we then go with a cap in hand begging for money and for help. On the other hand, when we strengthen our currency, we have all these issues and pressure to weaken the currency. So I'm very happy that so far the government has not bent to this kind of pressure to weaken our currency. Because I do know that obviously when our currency is strong, then you have the questions about the cost of imports, et cetera, and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, a more prosperous Ghana is what we all want. We want a stable currency and a prosperous country with a hope for, you know, the youth, for our future. So I don't think that the answer is in weakening our currency. I think we need to, so far, the Minister of Finance has been doing a great job together with the BOG. And I think, you know, BOG looking at monetary policy, etc. And I think together they should continue on the path on which they have embarked for all of our benefit.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. James, is there something in the paper you would want us to look at?
Well, I think it's on Ghana's Central Securities Depository undergoes major upgrade. New investor portal allows real-time access to investors' portfolio data. It's about digitization and ensuring that we have, you know, less human hands interplay, but we allow things to go through an electronic system. The little I remember from my undergrad computer science class is that what you put in is what you get out. So we have GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. If our system is not built to be one with integrity, to ensure transparency, honesty, and, you know, real-time accountable reporting, our whole effort at digitization would rather worsen the situation than help us get better. So for me, what is important is to ensure that we have responsible men and women manning our digital background or framework, and ensure that when systems are developed, when we have softwares developed for us, we can bet on their integrity and ensure that they are, you know, devised to serve the very purpose for which we authorized its makeup or construction. That said, I think that there's also the need to ensure that we have, you know, routine or regular checkup of evaluation of whatever systems that we put in place. Because whatever human beings create has limitations.
Some limitations,
and it has lifespan. So we have to make sure that at all times it is serving the purpose and it is up to date in its performance delivery. That's what I would say.
Okay. All right. If you wonder, is that a story you want?
Forex stability offers relief to fuel sector. You know that the fuel sector in Ghana has become the driver of everything else now. You're talking about power, you're talking about businesses, and you're talking about industrialization, and you're talking about transport. And so that is of much concern. I'm told that every month, the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors need about $400 million to import fuel into this country. And that will aggregate to about 4.8 billion yearly. I'm told that this time around they are getting their dollars, and that's why we're seeing prices at very relatively low rates and all that. Forex, you know, exchange also has been very stable, and I think that is a good, you know, call for all of this that is happening in Ghana at the moment.
Okay.
When the Ghana Gas, you know, phase 2 comes on board, I also sincerely believe that we will see more stability on the side of the CD to the dollar than we are seeing right now. And then fuel prices, prices of goods and services can be kept at a very minimal level. Inflation in Ghana is always driven by very few things: fuel, and then agriculture or food prices and all that. And so, and one triggers the other almost all the time. And I think it will be important that government keeps forex at a very minimally, low rate. And that will dovetail into what Madam said concerning the IMF request for forex, whatever. I think that Ghana should focus on what we are doing. Whatever we're doing that is getting it right, let's focus on that. Do it more, sustain the exchange rate, and then we can all have, some relief. Even our debt portfolio will reduce significantly if we keep our forex at a very good, rate.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm grateful. Lawyer, you prompted that you wanted to have a word on something.
Yes, just an appeal. We have a lot of Ghanaian students abroad who are facing dire hardship in schools. Those who are on scholarship, on government scholarships through the scholarship secretariat. So I think they have been pleading for some help from the scholarship secretariat here to pay their fees, because some of them have been thrown out of school and they might have to come back, etc. And some are almost done with their studies. So it would be good for
the government to step in.
Yeah, for them to step in to assist our people.
All right. Just before.
It's just not good that it's only African countries that experience this, because we are not the only nationals out there studying abroad.
I wonder, just before you come in, we should also note maybe people who have not heard or read, former President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, has died. He died aged 82, according to the sources in Nigeria. And a statement from the President of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he died in London after a prolonged illness, and that the Vice President of Nigeria has been sent to London to accompany the body back to Nigeria. So that is the story coming in from Nigeria.
May his soul rest in peace, and condolences to
Nigerian brothers and sisters
in Nigeria.
Over the weekend, I chaired an event, the Soma Tutuza Festival launch. I'm inviting all Ghanaians. It's a beauty to behold, display of cultural and our strength as the people of Soma. And you will know that we play a very critical role in the advancements of democracy. We give Ghana the biggest revenue as a border town and all that. And so we would invite them somewhere in September. The main event will be taking place. My brother now will be coming. Okay. He'll be donating a lot of money to us.
In September, it means that you'll be competing with my Kundum beats. In a Hunter West, we'll see what we'll do.
Join News must be very live.
Thank you very much for being part of this. This has been the news segment. And those who helped us do this, Wanda Madilo is a member of the NDC's communications team. James Kwabena Bomfe, PhD, is CEO of Sensors and Electoral at UPSA, and lawyer Vicky Bright is a lawyer and an entrepreneur. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more. Please stay with us. Well, let me welcome you back to the AM show. Remember that the AM show is proudly brought to you by Waylead Properties, and we have some incredible, houses with flexible payments. So come around and own that dream house of yours. Well, let's talk about, something that is going to shake the foundations of Ghana, foundations of Christianity as well, the Global Prayer Works Summit. And I've been joined in the studio by two leading members of that particular summit. I have here Mark Achichogui. He's son of the house, Action Chapel International. Mark, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
I also have Apostle Lisa Elliott. She is daughter of the Archbishop, Action Chapel International, USA.
Thank you.
And welcome to Ghana.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, let me start with you, Mark. If we say the Global Prayer Works Summit, what at all is it?
Well, for about 2 decades now, the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams has been hosting this prayer movement across the nations of the world, but particularly in North America and then also in Europe. And this is a prayer movement that has caused so much waves. It invites so many people from across the nations of the world with intense prayers, with intense testimonies that we've had. And the beautiful thing is that for the first time ever, it's coming down here, home, Ghana, where it all began. I mean, as you know, the Archbishop is definitely known for prayers, intercession, deliverance, revival all across the nations of the world. And he has pioneered such movements all across the nations of the world. And this time around, one of it actually is the Prayer Work Summit. And then this year, this month, just Thursday, God willing, we are beginning it for the first time in Ghana, in Africa.
Oh, this is coming Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. Apostle, I mean, why is the Global Prayer Work Summit Accra 2025 that significant?
Well, you know, this is very significant this year for it to be here in the Accra, Ghana area, because he has done many years, I think 20 years, you know, in United States and I think Europe. And so we have, he just felt that his heart was to bring it here into the African soul. So, you know, I believe that it's a very important thing that, you know, this is where the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams began the movement. And also, you know, it's such an expense to travel out. So he wanted to bring it home.
Okay.
So everybody could experience what we experience every year in America. And it is such a life-changing event.
What do you experience in America that if I'm listening to you now, if I'm watching you, I should say, okay, because of this, I should also be part?
Well, you know, it's the bringing together of leaders and pastors, fivefold ministry leaders, into another realm of prayer. The speakers, you know, everyone that he has is just incredible. And as we go, you know, every year in America, it's life-changing. It's life-changing.
Mark, I'm sure every year has its own theme.
Yes.
What is the theme for this year and what does it really mean?
This year's theme is Revive Us Again.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, if I should give you just that line, revive us again, you know it's important. We need revival in our lives. I think it's Psalm 85 verse 6 that says, will you not revive us that we may rejoice in you? Through the hustle and bustle of life, time, society, everything, we get backed up and sometimes literally beaten down with a lot of issues. When we spoke with the Archbishop and he shared his heart for this particular Global Prayer Works, he was concerned about how so many believers are battled down and beaten down by so many issues, prolonged situations that just doesn't seem to move or doesn't seem to change. But this year, we're going to pray and travail for all such stubborn issues to give way. And as he said himself, it's time for something to bow. It's time for something to give way. And that is what this particular Global Prayer Works is themed at.
Okay. Apostle mentioned earlier that the speakers that do come for this prayer works even add some attraction to it. So who are we looking at? I remember, was it this year or last year, you brought Apostle...
Yes.
How can I forget? Exactly.
Well,
so good.
I mean,
it's good that you mentioned that because so that was a different program altogether.
Yeah.
That's Impact. That's the annual conference that Action Chapel International hosts. Now, the Global Prayer Works is a little different from
Yes. I mean, I made that reference just to say how he's able to bring, you know,
people, yes.
So this year, which speakers are coming for the Global Prayer Works?
Global Prayer Works, we have a beloved son of Action and then also of Ghana, Reverend Eastwood Anaba.
Oh.
Yes, he's coming in to
Fantastic.
give us into the prophetic.
Fantastic.
Yes, and then you can't, I always say you can't go wrong with Reverend Eastwood Anaba.
never.
Truth, direct, and also with fire.
Yes.
And then we have Reverend Dr. Ampia Kofi also coming in, prayerful, prophetic teacher, and also international evangelist. And then we have, coming from Takoradi, Bishop Dr. Ojiri Asare.
Okay.
Bernard Ojiri Asare.
He is a future card in Hyderabad.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, packaging a come.
Thank you very much. Yes, so he is also coming on board, and that's with the ministers. But we also have Joe Metal,
okay,
Sandra Boachidria,
okay,
and then Simeon from France.
Okay.
They will take us into deep worship and prayers, also to a different level altogether. That's the lineup for this year.
Wonderful, incredible. I'm sure it's going to happen daily, right?
Pardon?
It's going to happen. Let me come to Apostle. I'm sure it will be happening on a daily basis. What's the schedule like?
We're doing, we start on the 17th of July, and then we go through the 19th, and we're doing 3 sessions a day.
Okay.
We're doing a 9 a.m. session, and we're doing a 2 p.m. session, and a 6 p.m. session.
Okay.
And so we'll do three sessions a day.
All at, Action Chapel, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. Your beautiful premises around the Spinix
Beautiful,
area.
on Spinix Road.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right. And you mentioned earlier that in USA it's church leaders, who converge for this. Is that the same thing in Ghana, or you're opening that for those of us who are not church leaders to
Oh, it's open for everyone.
Okay.
Whether you're a minister or, whether you're just seeking that revival, that true move of God, just a deeper encounter, with Christ. It's open for all people. And that's what I love about it, because you see, just such a diverse, just different people come from everywhere.
Okay.
And just to partake of what Papa's vision is, and to bring revival.
Okay. I hope you're going to make it such that if, Pastor Anaba comes in the morning, maybe say today, tomorrow he would have either be on the afternoon, and then the next will be in the evening, so that if you miss any of the times, you can catch him on any of the times, right?
Well, beautiful. So it's good you asked that question. Though, 9 a.m., 2 p.m., and then 5:30. Those are the sessions. And then in between those sessions, those 2-hour breaks would actually be like deliverance clinics. There'll be deliverance and all kinds of other ministrations needs going on. And just as you said, well, I can guarantee you exactly if you do morning and afternoon, but the program is in a way that you would not miss. You just have to be there, and then whoever the Lord picks to minister to you, you will be ministered to. And of course, it will be broadcast live also on Archbishop's social media.
Okay.
So for some reason, if you can't be there in person, why not? Archbishop Nick on Facebook, YouTube, X, you can definitely join in.
On television, I guess
on
you have
television
a,
also,
you have a
yes,
channel,
on,
right?
on Dominion TV.
Okay.
And it's broadcasting live. So the real deal is try your very much to be there, because there is a presence, an atmosphere when you're in there. But for some reason, if you are held back by distance, then you can't allow yourself to be cheated. Join online or on TV.
All right. So, Apostle, what lasting impact are you anticipating that the Global Prayer Work Summit 2025 will leave on participants?
Well, one thing that, Papa says is when revival happens, that's when God comes to town. And I think that's his heart with bringing the prayer summit here, is God coming to town, to Accra, to Ghana. And so I think that that's what we're going to see in
Okay.
in
All
this.
right. Interesting. But yeah, Mark, maybe you rehash exactly what Apostle was trying to make, the point about the lasting impact you're expecting this to leave.
Literally, like she said, God comes to town. That is actually the Archbishop's personal definition for what revival is. God is coming to Ghana. He's coming to Accra. Come Thursday, actually this Thursday, then Friday, then Saturday, to revive men and women across the nations on the world. Can I say a little bit something about the Saturday? Because the Saturday is a little bit different.
Briefly.
As much as we're doing prayers on the Friday and Thursday, on the Saturday we have 2 breakout sessions. And the morning is also prayer, but the 9 a.m. is 2 breakout sessions where we'll have the youth of Ghana also have a program on their own on self-transformation. Honorable George Jata will be around. And then also we have Honorable Asensio.
Okay.
He would also be around. So it's fully packed. It's not just addressing, let's say, the spiritual side of man or the spiritual side of women, but actually wholesome. Every area of our lives will be touched come Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I'll try my best to pass through because I really want to have a one-on-one with Papa. Can you make that happen?
Try your very best to pass through. And I can assure you, more than meeting Papa, you will meet God.
Yes. Okay, all right, I hear. Thank you very much. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming through.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best for this Global Prayer Work Summit. Yeah?
Sure.
So that's Mark Achichogui. He's son of the house, Action Chapel International. Apostle Lisa Elliott, daughter of the Archbishop, Action Chapel International, and she is from the United States of America. And one of the discussions we'll be having after here will be focusing on what her president is intending to do with the African continent. You might want to stay. We'll have a beautiful discussion right after this.
If you are running, then they assume you are part of their target. So it was to look at the police, they are standing idle. They couldn't do anything initially. They couldn't initially. Until here where they tried to stop the guys, they ran over them. And you can see some of the police even moving around. See some standing up there doing videography. Right. You couldn't blame them. I think that, like Professor Enin said, the police were not armed. And basically, if they attempted to do anything, a lot of them could have been injured. But let me come to why we are even going through this. Something, if there was even an incident at the polling station, I would be a bit more calmer. There was no incidents. There was nothing happening at the polling station the time these guys came in. In fact, they are the ones who came in and brought this. But the NDC are not learning. The reason why I'm saying they are not learning is this. There was Etiwa, there was Talensi, there was Akwetia, there was Tripone. And usually, I'm saying this to the Gen Zs and some of the people who are now following politics. West. And there was Ayawaso West. Today, when we speak about these things, everybody refers to Ayawaso West as if that was a first. And then as if it was something that came out of nowhere and the MPP brought it. Before Ayawaso West, there had been 4 bloodsheds. In fact, Talensi, there was an instruction by the National Security to stop every vehicle and search. Everybody on this call recollect. At some point, they found guns and ammunition in the vehicle of the national chairman then. To date, nothing happened. The women organizer of the National Democratic Congress in Etiwa drove through a group of MPP supporters. Some are maimed and incapacitated till today. Nothing happened. Akwetia, Honorable Damboche's vehicle was shot into. His driver was hit. He was rushed to the hospital fighting for his life. Baba Jamal, at that time, vehicles ran over people in Akwetia. Nothing was done about it. You see, it is as a result of some of these things that, for whatever reason, some of the political parties at the time, after Etiwa, decided to begin to take the protection of their own people into their hands.
Jambuadu made this point.
We cannot run away from that fact. We can't. We can't pretend that this is it. We cannot solve the problems if we don't go into these things. So if you recollect, something happened in Etiwa. Etiwa was the first time in the history of the MPP that we stood up for ourselves. And you recollect the famous Yachiro Mubibi Kitwebi. And then since Etiwa, the MPP began to protect ourselves. Let me tell you, as of 2019, that the anti-vigilantism law was passed, no political party had the kind of strength that the MPP had when it comes to what they did in Ablekuma North. No political party. We had the strength. We could do 3 times what they did in Ablekuma North as of 2019. But the president and the party then realized that that wasn't the way to go. Yes, we suffered it in 4 elections before we decided to own our own lives and our own protections. But they felt that it was time for us to put a stop to it.
But the president was handed an opportunity through the Ayawaso West Legon Commission. And
even that still give Akufo-Addo some credit. Because for 4 by-elections where there were bloodshed, We never saw the kind of public inquiry and commission that we saw.
But the public inquiry must have a purpose. I'm just making whitewashes.
I'm making no. It wasn't entirely whitewash. Maybe you can raise that there are other aspects that has not been implemented, but people were held responsible. Colonel Poku and co suffered consequences for the actions. So you can legitimately raise concerns about certain aspects, but we cannot run away from the fact that that was the first time in the history of this. And I'm saying this for the benefit of the young people who are only hearing Ayawaso West, Ayawaso West. I'm saying that before Ayawaso West, there was a Talensi, there was a Chiponi, there was a Tiwa, there was a Kwetia under an NDC government. That led to the MPP now starting to protect ourselves. Fast forward, the same MPP realized that no, this is not the way to go. Let's pass laws that will ensure that we did. And we passed the law to disband something that we were ahead of when it comes to, protecting or whatever you call it. But with what I saw with my eyes in Ablekuma, and with what I have seen public officials, including some judge, a cabinet minister, saying that they are now about to start, I think the MPP has legal committee, the MPP has elections committee, the MPP has communications committee. It is fair that the MPP quickly reorganizes itself and gets self-protection committee.
Well, the AM show is always proudly sponsored by Whaley Properties, and we provide quality housing at affordable costs and with flexible payment options. Let's move on to our big stories now. We will be forced to protect ourselves if the security services cannot protect us. Frustration and anger from the MPP following the violence in the Ablekuma North Rerun, as some MPP executives became victims of violence that ensued in the elections. What does this portend for upcoming by-elections in Akwatia, and what are the lessons to be drawn from what happened? Well, we have a second leg of this discussion we'll be having later, but I have with me in the studio Shamima Muslim. She is Deputy Government Spokesperson and someone who once sat where I'm sitting, in a different house. Shamima, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
Yeah, you're looking
How is the work?
The work, we are trying to take it from where you left it, to the next level. So let's see how it goes, but also count on the guidance.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I don't miss it at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think it's easier to be here than here. That's the only light side. It's easier to be here than here.
I get it.
To ask the questions than to answer them. I'm now seeing that it's not that easy answering the questions.
Okay.
But we are happy to be here.
Nice one.
I think that Ghana has a lot to be proud about. I mean, within the sub-region, the stability we've managed to engineer since the Fourth Republic is commendable. And I think it continues to elevate Ghana, among the Committee of Nations as an example of a working government, irrespective of our challenges. Even with the subject matter we're speaking about, election violence, if you look generally from 1992 to date, we have largely had successful elections.
Okay.
We've had very peaceful transfer, of power from one democratically elected, government to another, irrespective of the pockets of, violence that we agree we need to begin to act rather than lament and pretend that we are doing something about it. So we've done well as a country, and I think that there's still great room for improvement and really elevating Ghana as that black star of Africa. But every Ghanaian must be proud to be, a member of this country that can fight fiercely and still gather around the room and push for progress.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me introduce my guest on Zoom. We have Dr. John Osai Kwapong. He is a CDD fellow. And also joining on Zoom is Dr. Arthur Kennedy, a physician and a political activist. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Let me start with you, Dr. Arthur Kennedy.
you've been part of this process for quite a long time. I'm sure you monitored process or processes involved in the Ablekuma North by-election on Friday. What did you make of what happened on that day?
Good morning to your viewers and good morning to Shamima. Haven't seen her for some time.
For so long, Doug. Good morning.
Respectfully, I don't share Shamima's pride in our country.
Okay.
The country I saw at Ablekuma North and the country I saw during the National Day of Thanksgiving do not seem to me to be the same country. Yes, we can be proud when we look at the forest of our country, but within that forest, there are a lot of crises. Yes, we have been able to largely have transfer of power from government to government during elections, but let us not forget that we got to Ablekuma North because after elections, somehow the national police repeatedly failed to provide security, so there will be collation. So in the long run, about 3 polling stations just needing collation ballooned into 19 or so, where there had to be new elections.
Yeah.
And the police stood by unconcerned while people were assaulted, both politicians and media personnel. Some people had to run, and I noticed that you played a video of Miracles in which he was talking about going as far back as Etiwa. He's going as far back as Etiwa. I can go as far back as Kumbungu. MPP people know about the Kumbungu 5. And then there is Issa Mobila. But talking about political violence in our country, it goes as far back as the Matemehoten. That is why we have the names like Bafo, because somebody got stabbed and all that. Every government is responsible for security. What happened at Ablekuma North is something for which there should be no defense from the likes of Shamima Muslim, whom I like very much. There should be apologies.
But she hasn't defended what happened. She was only giving her remarks about how Ghana, how well we are doing. She has not defended it. Yeah,
that's quite unfair.
Her opening remarks should have had apology. I am surprised I have not heard from the president.
Doc, you might want to. I mean, she has not come onto the topic itself. She hasn't. She only spoke about how well Ghana is doing in spite of our challenges.
Well, okay, so maybe
you have to spare
wait
her.
for.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, that what we saw is something for which there ought to be apologies.
Okay.
Ghanaian citizens got up to go and vote. Media personnel got up to go and cover an election. And we saw assault. In actual fact, nobody ought to be telling us about investigations. There ought to be arrests. We saw a video in which somebody dived at a woman like he was a kung fu fighter. We saw policemen standing by while people were assaulted. Some of them walked away. And if the national police cannot protect people for a handful of polling stations, how are they going to protect us during national elections? And by the way, an eye for an eye will leave everybody blind. These going back to, there was talency and this, and we also decided to protect ourselves. And there was Ayawa Sugon. All sides have some truths. But is this how to build a nation? Was this the nation we saw at the prayer breakfast? What is the president doing about this? I saw a social media post in which the vice president talked about, oh, we need to do a little better. No, we need to stop talking and do things. The government is responsible for security. I do not think it is progress for Ghana for the MPP to go and form a vigilante group or an Azuka boys or whatever. I go far back in the MPP, and people don't know it. The Azuka boys used to be MPP boys. I have a batakari sent me by Azoka as a gift. I go far back. when you cut your tongue and chew it, you are not chewing meat. This thing we are doing is inconsistent with national development and reconciliation. And I'm disappointed that we haven't heard anything from the president. There haven't been arrests. We couldn't do collation. It is really demoralizing as a Ghanaian patriot.
And if it's demoralizing, what do you think must change about the way we do our things?
What must change is that governments must understand that they are not partisans fighting for power anymore. They are responsible for security in the state. People ought to be able to get up at home, go to vote, and go home peacefully. We need to count our votes, and no drop of Ghanaian blood is worth anybody's ambitions. In the same way, in 2020, we lost fellow citizens. In 2024, we lost fellow citizens. And I'm tired of the hypocrisy. Look at Dr. Baumia waxing eloquent about how the government ought do something. Where was he during Ayawaso Ugon, when other people were being beaten and slapped and he was the sitting vice president? Where was he when during an MPP primary, one of the contestant supporters lost an eye? This is the kind of double standard that is destroying this country. There's too much hypocrisy in this country on all sides.
Well, let me bring in Dr. John Osai-Kwapon here. Doc, you've said that it is time for key institutions which have the responsibility for sustaining the peace and security of the country, as well as for ensuring the integrity of elections, to develop a comprehensive anti-electoral violence plan before the, unquote, isolated, unquote, incident get out of hand. What must be in this particular plan you're talking about?
Good morning. Thank you very much. So, this plan that I was writing about is driven by this concern I have that any time that generally an election goes well, although we experience some electoral violence, we have a habit of describing it as isolated incidents of violence. My worry is that one day, if we are not careful, the cumulative effect of these quote-unquote isolated incidents of violence will become normalized and a part of our election. So I'm thinking there's the police, there's the Electoral Commission, there's the Peace Council, our political parties. Is there a way of building some consensus around how we protect the ballot, right? Can we come up with some reasonable rules around who is supposed to be at a polling station or not? Who is supposed to be at a collation center or not? How do we enforce issues of security, at the polling stations, at the collation centers? And it would take the involvement of all of these key actors to be able to come to some agreement and a recognition that this can continue. I mean, we are looking at this, and all I'm thinking of is Akwetia is next, right? Yeah. And if you listen to some of the rhetoric, it's as though some believe that Akwetia should be their opportunity to also dish back in equal measure what happened at Ablekuma North. But we can't keep continuing like that.
Okay, but you've also suggested that, the IPAC should forge a consensus around protocols for coalition centers to reduce tensions and prospect of chaos. Don't you already have, laid down procedures on how the coalition must go? And if we want to have protocols, what must these really be in actuals?
So yes, we have rules around how we collate these results and declare winners. But you also witnessed that you have political parties, their supporters amassing at these collation centers, sometimes being disruptive. In all of this, you also cannot absolve the political parties, right? Sometimes being disruptive. So you start saying to yourself, do we need all of these people at the collation centers during the counting and declaration of results, whether at the polling station or at the collation center. You don't, because everybody is there inflamed by their partisan, sentiments, and you can only see where it gets to. Some of the scenes from 2024 at some of these collation centers where did not speak well, in terms of the integrity, of our election. And so that's why, for me, there comes to a point where, again, we have to go back, rethink, take a second look at the rules and say, perhaps we need to tighten protocols around what happens or does not happen at the collation centers. And the other thing I also want to add is, I also get a little surprised at the security and law enforcement. And I say that because if I think of a state that is easily able to mobilize its forces to quell demonstrations, for example, right, that it was a little baffling just to see what appeared to be its inability to push back against some of the things that we were seeing at Ablekuma North.
So in general, I have to let you go, but in general, what lessons do you think the country should pick from this as we head or prepare for Akwatia?
For me, the key lesson is electoral violence should have no place in our elections. And if our two main political parties are going to keep drawing us back into who did what, when, and how in some past election, then unfortunately, I get afraid that this will continue. But there has to come a point where leadership, leaders in both parties should be able to rise up and say, okay, enough is enough. We need to chart a new path forward. This is an election. We don't have to maim, kill, beat each other, over elections. Yes, we always say that elections have consequences, but these are not the kinds of consequences that we should be having as a result of, election. I mean, what is so difficult about go vote, go home, come back, watch the count, have a winner declared, go home and celebrate your victory, right? It shouldn't degenerate into some of these unfortunate scenes.
Isn't the police service the one with the biggest responsibility in all of this to try and bring to book the people we saw in the video manhandling other people in this rerun?
I agree. I mean, identifying them exactly, bringing them to book and swiftly punishing them, I think would also help hopefully serve as a deterrent to others who may be having their own ideas about what to do in another election. Yes, but the police does have a responsibility in ensuring that the perpetrators of this violence are punished.
Okay. Doc, I'm grateful to you, and we're grateful that you could join us this morning. Dr. John Osai-Kwapong is a CDD fellow and the project director for Democracy Project there. Let me come in studio where Shamima Muslim is with me here. Shamima, why hasn't government issued an apology in all of this since Friday?
See, when we frame conversations like that with such openness, and as Dr. Arthur Kennedy also sought to do in the beginning, and then later on redeemed himself by conceding, where the challenge with regards to this particular thing is, then we can make some progress. Because he did say that an eye for an eye will leave everyone blind. But who should be blinded while someone has the eye? So they are very deep issues. And just listening to Dr. Kwapong, I would like to throw a challenge. Some time ago, I read a book, what's about participatory development and the disparity between global North and South. Ladles in the global soup kitchen, whose reality counts. So here, let's say ladles in the political violence soup kitchen, whose reality should count. You played, before we started the program, you played Miracles Abuaje's litany of examples. I wouldn't have wanted to go down that lane because if it's about examples, we can all give examples even as far as 1966. You know, when the forebears of Miracle's political, tradition started throwing bombs against their political opponents. It didn't stop there.
Which
at,
one?
At Bob
Which
throwing
one?
in 1966.
Which one?
Which one? What?
Yeah.
The
bomb.
coup, the Kulungungu bomb throwing. Several attempts were made to the life of, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and eventually, with the connivance of CIA, Ghana's forward march to development was curtailed as a result of that 1966 intervention. Dr. Kwapong is a researcher, and they would help all of us because we are now in a place where there is no trust, where NDC has no trust that in matters of elections, vigilance on their part, and which vigilance sometimes, unfortunately, leads to these violent outbreaks.
Vigilance on the part of the political parties?
On the political parties. Because we have all agreed that political parties have mobilized vigilante groups in the past. They have used individuals to also protect the ballot. Sometimes those activities lead to violence. I as a mother of 2 boys, 2 girls, would never encourage my son to go and put himself in the line of risk that could lead to his death. I wouldn't do that as a person. And I think political parties ought not to organize around, vehicles that would threaten the lives of their own members and also, other members of the general public, including lives of opponents. I would not accede to that kind of things. But this is the reality which we can all not run away from.
But the Vigilantism Act of 2019
I am worried about,
do away with that. Not so.
Which one?
The Vigilantism and other related
It's supposed to disband.
Yes.
And we have seen to a large extent, you can't point out macho groups, vigilante groups again, as we really saw them, at the height of which we saw some of them actually besiege a court premise, to take someone who was in court being taken through due process. We've seen a lot of things before. What I am saying is that to the extent that you can't trust NPP, NDC, or political parties to allow institutions to work in and of themselves, especially around issues of elections, individuals like Dr. Kopong, who are in research institutions, cannot and should not make claims that all of them have been doing this, because they do research. They provide statistics. Statistics give us an inkling into who must carry a certain disproportionate burden of responsibility or blame, even as we are trying to arrive at a conclusion.
Okay.
These researchers, from some of the ones that I've read, in the 2020-2024 elections, have cited unprecedented numbers of, and I'm just going to read them out to you, incidents. And that is particularly during 2020 and 24 general elections, since 1992. These periods that had former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the New Patriotic Party, because Miracles tried to create an impression that violence was, predominant in periods of NDC government. But obviously, the statistics do not bear him out. And he is literally forcing us to go into this, litany of examples. Look,
in 2024,
there were reported 76 incidents of electoral violence between November and December 2024, including property destruction, injuries, fatalities. The number of deaths, as you yourself have reported on this platform, was at least 6 people.
In 2024?
In 2024, just last year's elections. And I'll give you, because there are names to these individuals. Let's go to 2020 elections. 8 fatalities.
Okay.
As we speak today, justice has not been done for the families of those that were shot.
So who and who died in 2024?
These were the individuals. You've reported these. The
I remember 2020.
Yes,
2020.
2020, we had 8 fatalities, and the 64% of Ghanaians believe that the 2020 election, though generally free and fair, had major fatalities. 8 people. Now you're asking who? In Northern Region, in the 2024 election, in Northern Region, 1 person was killed in a shooting incident in Nyankpala. You know that.
Yeah.
In Central Region, Ewutu Senya East constituency, a shooting incident claimed 1 life with 3 individuals shot. Reportedly, they were NDC supporters. You also even know that the person of Hawa Kumsim, who wielded a gun, moved out a gun and shot a gun, and there were casualties in the Kaswa area. Until date, she has not been held accountable. So when Hawa Kumsin is seen around an election area, it will increase tensions and people will wonder why she's there, and it will generate the tension. Unfortunate, as a woman, I cannot, with any clear conscience, say it is acceptable that she was beaten the way that she was beaten. Personally, I cannot say that. But we cannot also now try to discount why she was there, why she had access to the perimeter, why she held a pepper spray, why she sprayed out a pepper spray at a point that security agencies had cordoned her and were providing her protection. If you in Savannah region.
But why would the young men apprehend her the way they did?
I don't know what was happening in the minds of the young men. I was not there. And I always say this, that sometimes until you become a victim of violence, you know, I always used to condemn, and I still condemn, mob action. But when you hear people share their experiences of armed attacks, armed robbery, theft against them, you can only understand the extent of their pain until you go through a certain process, you know, and experience a certain violence against your person. You may not understand why and how people respond the way that they do. You can only encourage people to allow the rule of law to always precede, you know, personal feelings of hurts and anger.
So I like your use of rule of law.
Because, for example,
why didn't the young men?
That's what I'm telling you. That I am not. I haven't experienced what they have experienced in the line of fire.
What I want to find out is, the lady was there, harmless. If they wanted her removed from the polling station,
but that is what you and I cannot say, because you and I were not on the ground. So you and I cannot. So it is only the security agencies and investigation that can really bring us the full picture of what triggered the unfortunate action that we see. And sometimes I think this society does not want candor, because when you attempt to be honest to a situation, you are rather misrepresented, and you know the public will get to you. So again, the issue about the double standards of our society, when people speak from their heart, instead of you hearing them from what they are trying to communicate, you try to put them on a defensive and try to either get them to justify their actions so that you can hang them at the gallows. And, you know, there is an unwillingness to perhaps understand where these reactions and actions come from so we can get to the root base. At the heart and the core of it is mistrust. Mistrust that has been engineered because of verifiable actions. You see, when the New Patriotic Party, when they were in government, were trying to put up the Electoral Commission and nominated individuals as commission members, all right-thinking Ghanaians, including Dr. Kwapong, had cause for concern. CDD that he works with petitioned the president to reconsider the nomination of non-New Patriotic Party actors as members of the commission. In a partisan society like ours, every action would be scrutinized because there is no trust. So coming back to finishing up with these statistics, and we'll go on to the way forward and how we must resolve this matter. Because Ghana is the only country that we have in. I'm living here. Dr. Arthur Kennedy is abroad. So I think that in terms of who wants Ghana to succeed and work, I think all of us may have. But those who are living in this country, having their children, raising their children in this country, cannot want this country to go up in flames.
He also has family members. He also has family members here.
I'm saying that right now he's living
but he has family members here.
I am living here.
Yeah.
I have family members abroad, but I'm living here. My 4 children were born here. They are being, grown here. I'm not discounting his advocacy. I'm just saying that just because of the point he made, I am fiercely, positive about our country.
Okay.
Even though we are worried about some of these incidents, which I made claim. Let me just wrap up. Ewutu Senya, 1 person died, 2 persons were critically injured. Savannah region, Damango constituency, 1 person died.
Right?
Yes.
We get it.
In 2024.
But this is 2025.
So this is not the time. Ahafuano West constituency, Kwesi Nimo, 33, died from gunshot wounds after confrontation at the Electoral Commission. Offensive of 2 deaths were reported under the leadership of New Patriotic Party, as Miracle would want us. Ayawaso West Wogon, he had cause to single out Honorable Sam George for mention, but he was not concerned that till date, the assault against Sam George has not received justice under their watch.
But does that explain?
The arrogance with which they communicate these positions that they do not have any, moral authority is what is troubling. If you agree there's a problem, let's think about how we solve the problem.
We'll get into it, but Shamima, does that explain why, till today, I mean, we've not had government coming out to speak on what happened?
Very erroneous, because on the morning of the voting, my boss, myself, and the vice president were at the swearing-in ceremony of the newly elected GJA executives. In fact, after the vice president spoke, she had to leave for another event. I also had to leave because we had a program at the presidency, but my boss stayed. And whilst he was there, the first reports of attacks against journalists broke.
Yeah.
And in his speech, he condemned those actions and called on the security agencies to act with dispatch. You reported almost swiftly. The Ghana Police Service issued a statement. They found the officer in question, removed him from the operation, and interdicted him and referred him to the conduct department. That was a swift action. The vice president, you do know that the president is not in the jurisdiction, right? But the vice president, who is acting president, issued a statement more than we even ever had from the previous administration.
After all the processes?
Never had a comment to make about Ayawaso West.
After all the processes.
And you must put those questions to them. Because when we, as a government, take steps that are distinctively different from what we have seen in the previous administration, you recognize that as being progress.
So we're saying that after the response from your minister and after the vice president's speech, we saw the level of
even
violence
I spoke on media. I spoke on your channel because Max
you've condemned.
Of course.
Okay.
Those actions are condemnable.
Okay.
I'm saying that nobody who sits and watches the visuals would say that this is how a democracy should look like. especially after we've done multiple elections.
Okay.
We are 33 years on. We have sustained this fourth democratic dispensation. 33 good years on. We have largely had free and fair elections, save for all of these instances. And I hear Kwapon when he says that, yes, there may be isolated incidents because the generality of the process has sustained thus far, and there have been transfers of power. There's not been any rude military intervention since 1992. So something is being done right. But why are we not progressing is because of the weakening of our institutions that CDD, Afrobarometer continues to say. Impunity is taking a hold. And how do we resolve impunity? We must strengthen the institutions. So the security agencies are the ones cloaked with powers of ensuring law and order. And so, for example, if a political party believes that they must personally be vigilant to ensure that they are not cheated, it behoves on security agencies to conduct the process in a manner that prevents any triggering of any action or preparation that any political party actor has taken in case there is an attempt to breach the process against them. So the security agencies hold a huge responsibility, but also the judiciary, because cases that have come to court, if you don't determine those cases, if you don't jail people who have been found in breach, impunity will continue to what? Thrive.
I hear. Let me bring in Dr. Afekanadi. Doc, you've listened to Shamima. Now, I mean, she makes the point that, look, the security has that responsibility to ensure that even though political parties would want to protect themselves, but it doesn't degenerate. I'm sure do you agree with her on that point?
That's a valid point, but respectfully, Shamima, I mean, if we're talking about history, some of those who were tried for the Kolongugu bomb were CPP members. So let's be accurate when we are talking about history. I think that all those, they CPP did this and we did
compromised
that.
By.
I am just saying that we are here now. We have a government. We have security forces. I agree with Shamima that Nanado's conduct was reprehensible during the 2020 election. I think the security forces were derelict, that fellow citizens died, and it took a new president to direct them to investigate that. But all that notwithstanding, we are here. I think the elephant in the room, to pardon my pun, is that the security forces have been politicized. When the MPP is in power, they partner the MPP to brutalize the opposition. When the NDC is in power, they partner the NDC to brutalize people. We need independent professional security forces. If the security forces had done their job, this by-election would not even have been necessary. There was a vote in 2024. The security forces were given 3-4 opportunities to provide security, so there will be coalition, and they couldn't do it. That's why we had to vote. Let's call out the security forces. And by the way, Shamima, there are people who live in Ghana full-time and are raising their children who are destroying the country. And there are people who live elsewhere who are trying to build the country. I mean, Mobutu Sese Seko never lived abroad while destroying Zaire. And we can cite examples in Ghana too. So I think that the question about whether you are a true Ghanaian patriot or not does not depend on where you live. It depends on whether Ghana lives in you.
I agree.
Doc, but how do we improve on our coalition to avoid the happenings of 2024, which resulted in this idea of rerun? It's because we couldn't complete a coalition in some of these polling stations. How do we really improve on that process?
Professionalize the security services. The security services have their finger in the wind, looking at where the political winds are blowing. So all of a sudden in 2024, like all of us, they saw the results, they knew who was coming into power, and all of a sudden they started acting in ways that would in effect further their ambitions. The truth of the matter is that whenever there are changes in the security services leadership, when government changes, and we tell the security forces to do their work professionally. They don't believe us. We need to insulate the security services from political changes and politicians. And I agree with a lot of the sentiments Shamima said, but if the security forces cannot be professionalized, Etiwa will rehearse what happened, future by-elections will rehearse what happened. It is a disgrace that in 2020, 8 or so of our fellow citizens died and nobody was charged. It is a disgrace that in 2024 people died. And we need to condemn that and call the security services to do. In most other jurisdictions, the head of the police will be fired for what happened at Ablekuma. But in Ghana, nothing will happen. That's our problem.
So you believe that the IGP must be fired?
Because he couldn't provide security for collation, he couldn't provide security at Ablekuma. Regardless of what else we do, the police failed, and there ought to be accountability.
I mean, Shamima's point is that Yohunu was not IGP when they couldn't call it, but during Yohunu's time, there was also that call for the security police to provide security. That wasn't done. So yes,
they should. If you also look at the...
So if you say they should, are you agreeing to the call for him to be sacked?
For your
IGP, yes.
I don't agree to that.
Okay, let me go back to Arthur Kennedy. Let me go back to Arthur Kennedy. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, do you, from the clarification from Shamima, do you still stand by your point that Yohunu should be fired?
When did Yohunu take over?
I don't know about fired, but there ought to be accountability. I am just saying that the same way that there's an IGP and 8 Ghanaians died during elections, and it takes a new president to order investigation. This is not on. Okay. And the same way, there was this new IGP, we couldn't provide security for collation, which is why we are voting. And during the voting, we see these things. So where is the accountability for the police? There ought to be some accountability.
Shamima.
And that accountability will come from government.
Okay. Okay.
In signs of.
Which
we're
one?
already seeing signs of a responsive police service that swiftly issued a statement, taking action against an officer caught on camera assaulting a female journalist, unwarranted, uncalled for, disproportionate, unjustified action. And investigations are ongoing. Swift action has been taken through a statement by the same police service announcing that they're going to also further investigate this matter. What we must call for,
we have the faces of these young men on camera.
But so what does investigation mean? Investigation means that they must locate, identify, and take custody of them.
This happened on Friday, no arrest till today.
Well, so let's give the police an opportunity to explain themselves. But I think that we have seen a sign that we haven't seen before. Look, we are resetting our institutions. And as we are resetting our institutions, we must know that the process of re-engineering is not an event. It is a process that requires a certain change of mindset, a certain consistency, because even they, the police, must get to a point where they believe that if they act professionally in trying to enforce law and order, that it's not going to cost them. They must come to that point where they believe that. And that comes to the politicians, that we must also be in a position where we are able to allow the security agencies to feel that they can trust the system, that the system expects them to do right and be professional at all times without consequence. That is not an event. And if we pretend that is an event, what we need is a commitment of leadership that is showing example of good behavior and intention to depart away from the norm. But mind you also that political parties that form government have their base. And if you're a father and your child was killed, your child was maimed, your child was hurt because your child was out there to support you, until date you have no justice. You see, Because sometimes it's not the political leaders that will tell their members to go and act in a certain way. Like I told you, we even heard reports that one of the people seen around the vicinity was a brother to the Kaswa victim who died as a result of an election, you know, in the Honorable Hawa Kumsin's constituency. So how do you, as political leadership, manage everybody's emotion when you have not walked a mile in their shoe? You have not. So Hannah Bisu, for instance, when she expressed her opinion, many of you disagreed with her. But those who also have been victims of political violence, they would also say that they reserve the right to say that I don't empathize with this person. So there will always be individuals within, you know, families who would have disproportionate experience.
I get it.
Those experiences will shape their behavior, will shape their attitude, will shape their mindset. What you must look out for is what is the dominant view within that family. The dominant view in the family of His Excellency's government is not that of lawlessness.
Won't it be a cycle?
Yes.
If we, you know, we say people have certain sentiment from their experiences and therefore would want to pay back. For example, you saw someone being beaten live on camera. If the family members of that man decide to also visit same in another time.
And they may. So
what are we doing?
What stops it is that reasonable people within all of our two families, that we need to raise a group of, you know, an era of leadership within political families that are truthful and trustworthy, that when they make commitments, they will work towards enforcing those commitments. That means not a complete avoidance of disruptions, but how you respond when those disruptions happen. How we go back into the family and speak to the individuals. Do you understand it? And I can tell you that within the family of the NPP, when there are excesses, we are on pages, we ourselves criticize ourselves, but perhaps we will not come and sit in the public and do it and make the NPP now come and sit like miracles, behaving like they sit on a moral high horse when their hands are stained with blood. Never in the history of our elections have we seen the numbers of citizens who have been killed like we have seen under the 2 terms of the previous administration. That Miracles himself was a member
that is on them. But that is on them. But when your government also oversees what happened in Ablekuma, you should be worried and should see what must be done.
Framing to say that the government oversees. The government did not endorse an outbreak of violence in an election. And you see,
but you are blaming the death on the MPP's administration.
Don't, because they also, what did he say? You played his voice.
Yes.
I came here with a mindset to come and talk about how we move this country forward. You spent almost 5 minutes rehashing his erroneous, one-sided view about what is the problem, those ladles. He said the ladles in our political violence are ladles of the NDC
you've responded
alone. And I responded to that.
You've responded.
And I'm responding that as a government, did you ever hear the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, condemn Ayawaso West Wogon? Did you hear him call on the security agencies?
Shamima,
but have you not heard our Vice President?
We have.
Have you?
And I'm saying that you spoke about trust.
Right, great.
You spoke about trust.
Yes.
Now, if people beat people like the way they beat the man, and the police is not able to pick anybody, I mean, because they were there, present there when this was happening, how does that engender trust such that
it must engender trust to the extent that, because the police is an independent institution. I have just told you how impunity thrives when security agencies, when the judiciary, when governments of the day themselves are complicit in their actions. Fifi Kwete, General Secretary of the NDC, has spoken, has assured and told members of the NDC that we're a party in government. Remember, the NPP has a lot to lose. We, as a party in government, we need to protect the society and ensure law and order. We have a lot to lose if we allow the NPP to provoke reactions that will what? cost us a certain peace. Fifi Kwete, the defense minister, Omani Boama, was on site. What did they call it? The interior minister was on site.
But the speeches do not want to arrest.
But you see, are you discounting the optics of key members of an administration immediately after those visuals came to their attention?
I'm only worried.
Are you discounting
I'm only worried.
Is there value in those visuals? Because you haven't seen there's value in those visuals.
Yes.
Thank you for agreeing that there's value.
But I'm saying
now we
when this happens,
interior minister cannot go and arrest.
Oh yes.
So
that's why I didn't bring it.
We expect the security agencies to do their work, because even from what they themselves saw, where Bande, our
Deputy General Secretary, yes,
who went there to escalate. You know Bande, right?
Yes.
You know he's a good soldier man, right?
Yes.
He didn't go there to escalate. He could have chosen to go and escalate. But I'm saying the leadership matters. And in this matter, we have seen a different kind of leadership, distinct from the leadership we've seen in the past.
Because of statements.
Where that impudence, where those things happened and leaders were silent. Because when you're silent, you don't offer leadership to your members.
That government didn't speak about the 2020 deaths. Is that what you're saying?
That's what?
That government didn't speak about the happiness
of 2020. What did they say? Tell me. You even had, what did they call it? Samson had to add Ayawaso West Wogon before Miracle said, and non-committedly, and Ayawaso West Wogon. Ayawaso West Wogon, where we saw armed men with masks besiege an election and destroy and assault members of parliament. Please, this is not what I wanted to do, but the tone of the conversation was set when Miracle's voice was played back, and then, of course, Honorable Arthur Kennedy also came in. But to be fair, Honorable Arthur Kennedy eventually did say that all sides must have questions to answer. And I am happy that the difference we are showing is that leadership at the highest level have shown commitment, have shown concern, have gone out. Mustafa Bande de-escalated, took Honorable Hawa Kumsing away and ensured that his vehicle took care. I think those are actions to be commended. And when foot soldiers see this, they know that please be calm, do not escalate. And I will also repeat it to all our foot soldiers and our grassroots. There are many people who are hurt because of the pain that their families have gone through, the loss of loved ones who have remained uncompensated, and justice have yet to come to those people. But His Excellency John Dramani Mahama continues to assure all of us that as far as he is president and remains president, Ghana would be peaceful. Whereas Ghana is peaceful, he is also going to ensure that the agencies and the institutions cloaked with powers to act to bring justice to people who have been unfairly done by, the same sometimes instruments of the state and other individuals will be made to face the full rigors of the law. But please, let's maintain law and order. This government is in for the long haul. The more we sanitize the space, the easier it will be for us to also get renewed mandates. If we repeat the same mistakes of the New Patriotic Party, what we are saying is that we are no different. But yet we know we are so different because the actions of our leaders are different. The actions of our leaders are with conscience, are with empathy, are with the spirit of uniting rather than disuniting. So let the institutions work and ensure that they bring those who breach the law and who breach public order, bring them to book.
Shamima, just as we were speaking, I tried to
Starting from all of the cold cases. I think that in terms of priority, we must go back to 2020 to 2024 and begin solving the problems right up to 2025.
But we have to deal with that now because that is fresh.
But you're not interested?
No, I'm interested. I'm very much interested.
Justice
I'm very much interested. That has to be delivered. Oh, no.
Is unjust.
Not so. But
So let's remind the police.
It's important.
Remind the police of the cold cases that are still undetermined.
Just as you say, your government has spoken on it. 2020, President Akufo-Addo also spoke on it, but it didn't bring the sort of result we were looking for. That's why we are saying that it has to go beyond the speech. People were on camera. We saw them. There has to be some arrests. As we speak, there has to be. Because Akufo-Addo spoke about it. Nothing happened. So we cannot take their speeches to say, yes, it's okay. It is not. And I'm sure you agree with me.
Lives were lost.
Exactly, yes.
Lives were lost. Right?
I agree, yes.
It took forever. Today, the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, who is speaking about it, did he have anything to say about it? Telling, should the Vice President actually should the Vice President come out and say, my brother, should the Vice President come out to say that they will remember? You will remember what? You have forgotten what you did?
Okay.
Have you forgotten? Remember what you did. Truly, that's the distinctive difference between the Vice President then, Bawumia, who is now wanting to be president, and even the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, who could have used the opportunity to remind Ghanaians of the petitions before her, seeking justice for people who have been maimed, who have been killed through election violence.
Okay, I hear. I'm grateful. Let me bring in Dr. Kennedy. Doc, your last words on this particular subject. What must we do going forward so that we don't have a recurrence of this?
There must be accountability, and the statute of limitations has not expired on 2020.
Sure.
I think those who killed and beat people and others should be brought to account. And we should do the same thing to those doing that now. And I want to add a caution to the country. When a nation allows its official institutions and agencies to be mobilized in pursuit of the private vendettas of individuals or groups, that country is in trouble. And I think we are on the path to doing that. We do these things and we justify them. I have already condemned Bawumia. I condemned Akufo-Addo's silence. But we have a president now, and I'm just saying that what happened at Ayawaso Wugon, as well as what happened at Ablekuma that we witnessed, is not consistent with the nation that was offering prayers for how good God has been to us. Because here on earth, God's work is our own. So the work of building peace in fulfillment of God's word is our work, and it should be led by the president who led the National Day of Prayer.
Grateful to you, Dr. Afrikani. But do stay with me. Okay, Shamima says they won't disappoint. Shamima, so you said you came here with something. Now you wanted to talk about the way forward. What we must do? Maybe you leave that with us, and then we can.
You've already mentioned it. The way forward is that we must move away from entrenching impunity. There is a science to impunity beyond the sentiment, and if we don't build the institutions to respond adequately and be strengthened, we would have these conversations to no end. Yeah. And one of those is that, again, please, the institutions cloaked with powers to bring about justice and to mediate in affairs should do their professional best, and that includes the Ghana Police Service, as we always continue, even the Army, because sometimes when the Army comes into some of these joint issues, they can also exhibit disproportionate force. Okay. The Electoral Commission, political parties cannot also escape blame and responsibility. They also have to build stronger political institutions so that we can all build this country. 33 years, we've done well, I keep saying, because we must look at how far we have come and then build better. And we truly need to build better. And again, to build better means we should all be doing right, including the media, my dear brother. The media must also sometimes do more than say, he said, she said.
Oh, and we do more than that.
The fullest picture and conclude based on the statistics, on the face of it. I say this also because even with this partisanship, if you can just give me 1 minute, the tone of the divisiveness of our partisan politics. I'm saying that if you take Jerry John Kufuor, who is today lamenting of being marginalized by his own, it is a very sad story. Listening to the hurt in former President Kufuor, and that's what MPP people do, and they say they can't learn. You can't even treat your founding member, the man who brought you from the wilderness to power, with the modicum of respect to include him. That's why sometimes wisdom has escaped the camp of the New Patriotic Party.
I'm grateful, Shamima. Thank you.
So, well,
thank you very much.
If you look at the era
Shamima,
of that time,
I have to
Mills,
I have to move on.
Shamima,
you know,
where he said he was father
Shamima,
for all.
I'm
to
grateful.
John Mahama
I'm
chapter 1. Anytime we make progress, NPP takes us
Shamima
back
is doing what she
with their vindictive politics.
Shamima Muslim is deputy government spokesperson.
Serious, you didn't ask me about it.
Anyway, we'll take a break. We'll be back to talk about what President Trump is now trying to do with Africa. Stay with us here.
Liberia is a longtime friend of the United States, and we believe in your policy of making America great again. And we also go a long way with you in your diplomacy that has to do with economic development and commercial friendship. And we just want to thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. It's such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting. It's beautiful English.
Sure.
I have people at this table can't speak nearly as well. And
So that was the U.S. President Donald Trump in that conversation with some five heads of some 5 African countries. Now, U.S. and African relations is being redefined, or are being redefined from aid to trade. U.S. President Donald Trump has met with leaders from Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal, where the discussions focused on business opportunities, but also on, to the surprise of Donald Trump, as you heard there, that the president of Liberia speaks good English. Okay, now let's talk about this and what is the new, this new turn mean for African countries? Because when you read what transcribed, the African president were trying to pitch to the American president and his people what they do have. I mean, someone would say we have resources like that, we have minerals, and I'm inviting American investors to invest in it. One president even went to the extent of saying that, well, if you don't, other countries will come, so you have to come and invest in it. But let me start with you, and I've been joined by Nanaya Miraku. He's an international relations analyst. We also have Dr. John Arthur Kennedy with us on the line to help us, do this. Dr. Kwabena Arthur Kennedy is still with us on the line. But Kwabena, if you listen to the U.S. president, what readily comes to mind as to what he really wants to do?
Well, good morning to you, and good morning to your viewers. Before I start with the conversation, I would like to just have a go at the unfortunate news that we had yesterday, that the former president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, is passed on. I think that he was a political stalwart, and he contributed his bit to the story of democratic consolidation and growth to the African continent. At least we can say that he was the first candidate to usher an opposition party to incumbency in Nigeria's political history, the APC that Bola Tinubu belongs to. So I think that it was an unfortunate news that we had, yesterday. Now, since we are talking about African president, I thought it was to just slip that in.
Sure.
But going forward, wow. It was an interesting development in the Oval Office. Quite a few of these developments have occurred, during President Trump's presidency. I think that what happened between President Trump and the 5 African states, for me, is a harbinger of things to come. It's an attempt by the U.S. government to set the terms of engagement with African leaders going forward. This is a administration that wants to deal with state-to-state Africa relations, and I think that going for these 5 countries is an attempt to create a certain environment to send a message that this is how going forward the U.S. administration wants to deal with Africa. It is a transformation from aid to trade, from assistance to development, or from assistance to commercial relations. And so it doesn't come to me as a surprise that if you look at the country that he picked, these are countries on the western coast. They might be smaller countries in terms of their commercial values, because if you compare if you add the 5 countries together, their annual GDP is $75 billion. You are not seeing the economic giant on the continent amongst them, but there's a reason why the United States wants to engage with them. It's from a geostrategic point of view, a geopolitical point of view, and indeed, natural resources. If you look at these countries, 5 of them, Mauritania, Senegal, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, and then I think Liberia, 5 of them. These are countries that are well endowed with what you call rare earth minerals, very, very rich. And the United States is seeking to reduce a dependency on China, because China has most of these rare earth minerals. But China uses this as a leverage in dealing with the US. So when the United States is able to sidestep China in the near future and is able to acquire these natural resources from other places, it's a boost to the US geopolitical stance. And if you look at, again, Mauritania, for instance, Mauritania lies on the Atlantic coast. It serves as a bridge between North Africa and then Sub-Saharan Africa. It's inures to U.S. immigration policy to have Mauritania on its side, because I think from 2022 to 2025, 20,000 Mauritanians, crossed through Nicaragua, went to the U.S. southern borders. So there is a number of geostrategic relevance in terms of where they are located, in terms of the natural resources they are able to offer.
And I also read that they have a coastline which spans 500 kilometers.
Yes, they have a very impressive coastline, particularly Gabon.
And that the U.S. would want to set up a base to even deal with
maritime counter-terrorism, piracy. And Gabon is. We must understand that Western influence across the Sahel is shrinking, especially with this, France's waning popularity, French waning popularity in that area. US's drone base in Niger, Agadez, is being closed down. So the United States is also seeking other places where you can establish these military bases. They have like 13 permanent ones, 17 temporary military bases. So an arrangement with Gabon. And Gabon is also very, very rich in manganese. I hear that it has a quarter of the global reserve of manganese supplies and supplies 22% of the total manganese that China needs. And so these are very, very resource-rich countries that having them, to the side of the U.S. is very, very, very important. On the side of the African leaders, they are also seeking for investment, foreign direct investment, adding value to their natural resources, ultimately creating employment for their people, so they don't harbor this sentiment of wanting to travel away to make it. So I think that we are yet to see how these things will materialize. Because once again, we know Trump. Cyril Ramaphosa was in South Africa some few weeks ago. And we thought that because of what happened, it was going to transpire into certain practical evidence or dividends for South Africa. But we've seen that 30% of tariffs has been slapped on South Africa. So we don't really know what is going to happen. Nothing has come out concretely yet until we wait for a few days that is ahead of us.
On that note, let me take you to America and speak to someone who has lived there for quite a long time now and understands the system better. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, you could probably understand where Trump is taking this to. What do you think the direction of this will be from Donald Trump? And what must the African leaders be wary of on the new direction that this is taking?
I think that fundamentally Mr. Trump is transactional. And I think that we shouldn't read too much into the countries that were picked. I think they wanted to send the message that there is a new order. Africa has always had the big boys, Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, which every American administration deals with. It seems that 2 things are going to change, not just the nature of the priorities of the administration, but also how the structure of the relationship goes. There is a gentleman is named as a senior advisor on Africa, Masad Boulos, and he is the person who helped negotiate the Rwanda DRC peace deal. Even though traditionally they've been an assistant secretary for African affairs and an African bureau, and the National Security Council and the Africa Command, it would seem that during the Trump administration, these ways of conducting policy will change a little bit, and Mr. Bullock, who is a good friend of Mr. Trump, will have a very big voice. And as to the fact that the emphasis has shifted from aid to trade, we hear this cyclically. The African Growth and Opportunities Act was also a shift from aid to trade. So these are cyclical, and I think that from my point of view, even though the Trump administration might prefer engaging with countries on an individual basis, I think Africa should learn from Europe. I think the European Union is conducting negotiations on behalf of all of them. That is more cost effective. That makes us have a unified voice. So I think while he's trying to deal with us as individual nations, it will be best to strengthen the African Union, give it resources and give it a voice so that it can deal with the Trump administration mostly on our behalf. I think that Mr. Mreku does make a very good point about security concerns by the Trump administration. The French interest in the Sahel is waning, and not only that, there are intractable conflicts on the African continent. Hopefully, Mr. Trump has solved the most important one, which is the DRC Rwanda one. We should also ask them to see if they can engage on Sudan, and then South Sudan, as well as other trouble spots, and then hopefully encourage his proclivities to peace. But I think that we're still waiting to see, and that there are still a few surprising turns that we should expect.
Like what?
Well, I feel, for example, that their relationship with South Africa probably will get better. I think maybe before his term is over, there might be a few more bases. And I think also that if we make our case well, I think, for example, the withdrawal of assistance in the health field, in my view, aside from security, is a very significant thing. Since 2003, through PEPFAR, the President's Initiative on HIV, Medications and Prevention, the Americans, through those initiatives, have cut HIV mortality on the African continent by 65%. They spent almost $100 billion, and people are very worried about them pooling resources from research. Actually, they give Ghana about $140 million a year to our health budget. All those are things that we should quietly pitch to our friends in the administration. And I think we should be careful about engaging Mr. Trump through these public debates and spats. I think that the model for dealing with the new American administration is Bibi Netanyahu. He's been very effective. You never see him arguing with Trump in public. I'm sure they have disagreements, but he keeps it private because those disagreements do not help us. And as Kofi Annan famously said, if your hand is in somebody's mouth, you don't hit the person on the head. So we should look for allies and people who are influential with Mr. Trump. And that is, for example, how Mr. Bullock came to be his senior advisor on Africa. So we need to be looking for friends and people who are influential with Mr. Trump to make our case to him quietly, rather than take through public bombast.
Okay. I mean, if you listen to Doc, he makes the point about Africa negotiating as a bloc, like the European Union does. Should individual country heads then tell the West that, well, if you want to pass through the AU, or where do we begin?
Well, that's a very interesting way to look at how we should be engaging, the U.S. government. I think it's right for you to want to do it. It gives us some kind of agency if we do it as on a continental level than as respective individual countries. I think that first of all, the Trump administration now, President Trump is what I call a transactional pragmatist. He's always looking for something in exchange for something. So he is very, very careful. And this is I'll come to answering your question. This is where I beg to differ. Africa has not really featured well, in Trump's foreign policy. it happened during his first administration. Africa was more like an economic backwater, like I keep saying. Because if you look at the presidential signature initiative that were implemented by his predecessors, it was, I think, President Clinton that introduced AGOA, and President Bush Jr. introduced what they call MCC, and then PEPFAR. President Biden didn't do much except for what you call the Libido corridor, which is also some counterbalance measure to China in their creation of the China Belt and Road Initiative. President Trump didn't do much except for the creation of what you call Build or Prosper Africa. And I keep saying that he does these things because he's a transactional pragmatist. It is what Africa has to offer that gives Africa the leverage to want to sit with him. So if we go as individual countries and we are not able to make a very good pitch as to what we can offer, right? At the end of the day, they gain more, we gain less. And so I agree to the fact that it has to be done on a continental level. As to whether the US government is ready to engage us on that continental level is another issue, because it takes two to tango. I would have thought that under Biden administration, in the first week of his presidency when there was the AU summit, President Biden decided to engage African Union on that level. But we see Trump preferably choosing to deal with African leaders individually. So he dealt with South Africa. Now he selected 5 African countries to deal with them. So as much as it's inures to our benefit to want to deal with the US government on a continental level through the African Union, we must also understand whether President Trump is willing to deal with us on that, on that bigger platform, or he prefers to deal with African countries individually.
We don't have a say in this?
Well, it depends on how we want to structure our systems. Have you put in place, what are we selling to President Trump? How well have you managed AFTA, for instance, that we are able to convince the Americans that you have access to this large continental, market, so that you also have to, there has to be some commercial relations. So I think that it is important for us to understand that this is an administration that has identified its strength. And so it is choosing to deal with us individually, or collectively. And I think that this is where we must be, pragmatists in ensuring that we keep our house in order. We have AFTA in order. We have a number of things to sell to the Americans, that this is what we are bringing to the table. For that matter, we need that commercial, engagement.
All right. Grateful to you. Let me bring in Dr. Arthur Kennedy. Doc, let's now look at the U.S. visa and immigration issues that we now have. You are there. What do you really think is happening with the new direction that they want to take in terms of the visa issuance to Ghanaians?
It is a global thing. The American election last year was fought on immigration and the loose borders and the fact that the previous government was too lax in enforcing immigration rules. So I think that there is a general turn to the other direction, more deportations, more visa enforcement, and those kinds of things. So I think that Africa has been swept up in this. I have a feeling that part of it is Mr. Trump trying to fulfill what he calls his electoral promise. And I think that with time, these things would, in effect, quiet down a little bit. I also think that particularly after the US midterm elections, other voices will come before in the legislature and they will apply different kinds of pressure. So I expect that as in his first term, as time goes on, he'll be preoccupied with other things and some of these things will quieten down.
Must it be a worry to us that they are giving us 3-month visa on a single entry?
Well, it must be a worry, but I think a lot of other countries are suffering the same fate. I think that the best way to counteract that is quiet diplomacy, look for friends in the administration and quietly make our case. And some of these things, if we make our case effectively, might be changed without a lot of noise and fanfare.
Miracle, do you see us doing that? Doc talks about quiet diplomacy. Do you see us doing that?
Well, I think that is and I agree with Dr. Kennedy. I think it's the right thing to do. You need to understand Trump to know how to deal with him. He is somebody that always wants that auspicious moment to pitch and to project himself. you don't want to engage him through public diplomacy because he must always be seen as the winner in such endeavors. So you are better off dealing with him, doing things quietly. And I think that doing that moves beyond engaging, for instance, the U.S. ambassador to Ghana. We need a state-to-state, level kind of engagement.
So not engaging with the ambassador?
No. I think this moves beyond that. This means that meeting with the Secretary of State or the State Department in the U.S. and trashing out the very differences that they think. Because for me, I think that is a global immigration realignment policies that the U.S. is embarking. But I think that ours is more of a sanction because we are part of those 38 countries that were supposedly to be banned in terms of issuing U.S. visas. Yeah. And I think a softer version of what has been given to us. Yeah. And they outlined certain very crucial things, and that forms part of Trump's immigration policy. The fact that there's a number of visa overstays among Ghanaians. Yeah. The fact that the government is failing to provide what they call travel document or national document to deported people so they can be brought back to the country. And the lack of a database concerning Ghanaian immigrants as to who has a crime background or could pose a threat to the national security of U.S. And so once these three things and other things have been addressed, there's likely to be a renegotiation of these visa ban. And so I think that this is where we need the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Samuel Kudjato, to engage the U.S. government at that very high level to see how they can resolve these differences. Hopefully, we'll be taken out of these, new arrangements concerning the 3-month visa issuance and the single entry. I have strong conviction that because of the blowback is having, especially within the business community, some pressure will be put on the government for them to do the needful to see if they can, rearrange, go back or reverse to the previous.
If you say business community, American business community or Ghanaian community?
I mean the Ghanaian business community, because it has a lot of implications. There are people that probably travel to the U.S. like 2 or 3 times in a month because of emergency business arrangement. Now they cannot do that again. And they are likely to lose, business opportunities that have concomitant financial implications. Because right now, if you travel back within a space of 3 months, what it means is that you have to reapply. And the money is the problem, but it's not really the problem. Even getting a date, I hear people are getting dates in 2026 and 2027. So you can't make emergency business travels to the US if something has to be done. So I think that these are the economic, the monetary part, but the non-monetary part is the people will not have that luxury of emergency travels and other issues. So I think that maybe this puts some pressure on the government to want to renegotiate these terms of visa reciprocity. And I want to mention something. There was this idea that it's because Ghana was not holding the side of the bargain when it came to visa reciprocity, that we were not giving them 5 years and multiple entry. That is what led to these. Yeah. But I think the minister has given ample evidence to show that this has never been the case. We have, between 2024 and now, the government of Ghana has issued over 40,000 visas. Almost 30,000 of them has been multiple entry, some 5 years and some, so that is not the caveat, the condition under which this visa reciprocity order was given. But the fact that it is a global immigration realignment that the Trump policy is seeking to implement, and Ghana has bore a brunt of it. So I think that if the minister or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is able to address some of the grievances or the need of the U.S. government, I think that there's a fair chance that some of these visa arrangements, will be reversed to its initial status.
Doc, they also cited the lack of Ghanaians to return home. Help us. How can we address this? That Ghanaians will go and be willing to return to Ghana.
Well, obviously, those are global issues about, for example, when people finish their courses of study, a lot of people come here to study. Feeling that when they go to Ghana, there will be jobs to do. When those things happen, just like Mr. Mreku points out, some quiet diplomacy will kind of change some of these restrictions. But those are long-term effects, and it is very difficult for the government, in effect, to determine the actions of individuals.
Okay, so it means that as for that, there's nothing government can do about it. We just have to pray that individuals will be willing to return.
Oh, better economic prospects. If our economic prospects are good, almost invariably, whenever things are better at home, more people head home. So that should help.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Arthur Kennedy, for joining us here. Dr. Kwabena Arthur Kennedy is a physician and a political activist. He once ran for the flag bearership of the New Patriotic Party. Nana Yamreku is with me in the studio. Nana, so do you ever foresee that happening, that there will be that better conditions back home to draw our friends and brothers who have gone to study to come back to Ghana?
That's a very big question. I'll try to answer it the best way I can. I think that we are seeing a better Ghana day in, day out. What used to be 5 or 10 years is probably an improvement of what you are seeing today. So I'm going to be an optimist and say that going forward, if we are able to get our act together, put in place certain good economic policies, certain developmental policies, that will make the lives of ordinary citizens here better. There will be no need, traveling outside for greener pastures. The outside exposure is important, but once we have our act together, I want to be optimistic and say that it might take some time, but we will definitely get there. Because
does AFTA hold the key?
Say again?
Does AFTA?
Oh, and there is enormous benefit to AFTA, but AFTA has its own challenges, especially with the member state. Because if you are seeking to trade amongst ourselves, we should be interested in trade diversification.
Okay.
We cannot all be producing the same good without adding value and want to trade amongst ourselves.
Okay.
So I think that the share continental market value of AFTA is enormous. If we are able to really prioritize what you want to get from AFTA, I think it goes a long way, to helping the continent economic policy. Of course, by looking at the respective challenges that are birthed, with AFTA. But I see light at the end of the tunnel. And I see President Trump's presidency, in my opinion, as some kind of blessing to Africa. Africa as a whole.
Okay.
Because what it means is that, the humanitarian aid and the feeding of African leaders and African countries that were fueling corruption is going to be truncated.
And you have to find a way to trade amongst yourselves now.
Homegrown policy. So I think that in some way it helps.
Okay. All right. Nana Yao Mereku, International Relations Analyst, thank you very much for passing through.
Thank you.
And I myself attended the same University of Cape Coast. It's a proud moment to meet on the
Right.
show. Well, that's how we wrap up our show for you today. There's more on myjoyonline.com, but you know what? God has been great, has been faithful to us. He's given us favor. He's given us the grace to shine in today. We'll meet again tomorrow to continue what God has given you and I to do on this world, on this earth. Up next, News Desk here on Joy News. Good morning.